Plus, it's Game 3 for SDFC out in Utah. And how can the Padres get right out in Arizona? We'll talk about it all with Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego, Southern California, what's going on? It is hour one of Jon and Jim on this Friday afternoon. I'm nervous for tomorrow. San Diego State, you just heard it in the open.
I'm going to be there. It's fine.
So much on the line. Jim in the building. By the way, our long National Cactus League nightmare continues. The Padres rained out today. They have not won since last Wednesday. Where were we last Wednesday?
We were here.
I'll tell you where we were. The Aztecs were just coming off a home win over New Mexico. That feels like forever ago. They've been to Laramie. They've been to Vegas. They've been to San Diego. Meanwhile, in Peoria, the Padres haven't won a game since last Wednesday. Now, they didn't lose today, to your point. But Kevin Acee will join us at 4 p.m. Chris Hodge has free picks.
It's like another tie.
For our listeners coming up at 4:30. We'll get into San Diego FC. Let's start with tomorrow. Because I'm nervous, not because you're going to be there, although that has added a little bit of anxiety into my life. I think I woke up at 2 a.m. last night and used the restroom, and I thought about the fact that you were going to be there. That's kind of weird, right?
So, wait.
Yeah,
you
weird.
were thinking about me at 2 a.m. while using the restroom?
Correct. Is that weird?
Just a little? It was number one, not number two, right?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Because it took 30 seconds.
Okay, good. Because if it was number two, then that'd be even worse. I feel like sitting there,
so this
thinking
is acceptable.
about me.
This is acceptable.
This is fine. It's not. It's not the worst thing in the world.
I woke up in the middle of the night. I immediately start thinking about, we're only a day and a half away from this Aztec game.
Of course.
And I'm like, Jim's gonna be there. And then I'm like, Jim's gonna be there.
Yeah. It's okay.
That's
Jon.
all.
It's okay.
What's okay?
That I will be there.
Okay. I trust you. I'm gonna trust you on this one.
Don't worry. I got this, dude. We got this. It's in the bag.
We talked to
and if it's not, then I don't know if I can show my face on Monday.
I don't even want to get into that right now.
No, seriously, let's walk through it. If by some chance they lose tomorrow night,
right,
while I am there,
right,
are you going to allow me back on the show on Monday, or how's this going to work?
I don't really have a choice.
I know. I meant in the same studio.
iHeart's publicly traded. There's probably employment laws that I can't just get rid of you.
Right. You can't fire me.
Although, you
can tell me to.
It might be a win.
You can tell me to F off and not actually look at me.
I'm not gonna blame you. I'm serious.
Yes, you will.
I mean, yes, I'll blame you a little bit, but I'm not gonna be dead serious. I'll just be quasi serious.
I can already see my mentions now if they lose.
Oh, absolutely. If the Aztecs don't win, at Jim Russell SD.
Right. It will be all my fault.
If they do win, don't tag him in anything.
Yeah, I will get no credit, and I will get all the blame.
So what's your plan tomorrow night? Are you going to get there early? Are you doing, I know you're probably doing a 6-course meal at
6-course meal,
a Michelin restaurant by the Mesa. And then you'll show up mid second half.
Well, I don't think they have any Michelin star restaurants near San Diego State.
What do you say?
I mean, Broken Yolk is very good.
It is good.
No, I'm not going to have a 6-course meal tomorrow. I think my plan is to get there, I don't know, 45-ish minutes before tip.
45-ish minutes?
What do you mean?
What if there's traffic?
Get there. I'm going to leave at a certain, 7:30 tip?
Yeah.
All right, I'll leave at 6.
Oh, you'll be good. That's fine. Well, here's the thing. Yes, but you get there, maybe grab some food, be there for senior night, wear white, cheer.
Of course.
For Brent, it's either a 7:31 or 7:36 tip. And for our listeners, I believe.
Yeah.
So it'll start pretty close to 7:30 as opposed to 7:45 or so tomorrow. All right, I'm ready. I guess I'm ready.
And just a reminder, if you're going to be looking for the San Diego Football Club's game tomorrow, it will be on our sister station, Jim in 95.7. Right. Now, this is not all the time, obviously, but because there are certain conflicts with, basketball and probably football in the spring.
Football in the spring.
Sorry, football in the fall, my bad. They will be on our sister station just tomorrow night, Jamie 95.7.
Well, also a reminder, if you want to hear Ted Lightner call his final regular season game, download the iHeartRadio app or listen to San Diego Sports 760. When you download the app, put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets, put Jon and Jim in your presets. But what I've been saying about tomorrow, if you're not going to the game, as a tribute for Ted, turn the TV volume down and turn Ted up and then line up the TV with the audio. Now, do I know how to do that? Not necessarily.
It would
Could
take
Jim
you
do it? Yes.
the entire game to figure it out.
Correct. But I think a lot of our listeners have a little more skill with that than I do.
Did you know this is totally different. Did you know on the Apple TV Plus MLS broadcast, you can actually have the audio of the game from our radio station?
What?
Yeah.
Kind of like how you can with MLB as well.
Yep. So they allow you to change the audio.
Oh, I want to do that.
To
what?
Adrian and either Darren or whoever, was with Adrian during the game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can have
I get the Spanish?
The radio call be played on television.
English or Spanish?
I believe so.
Will it translate Darren call from English to Spanish?
Well, they do have a Spanish broadcasting.
No, I want the
network.
AI.
No. That's too advanced, even though Apple TV is very advanced. So that's just what I thought there anyway.
I like it. All right, so this is, again, Aztecs tomorrow at 7:30, San Diego FC tomorrow at 6:30. San Diego State must win. SDFC, maybe not must win. Third match of the year. But for San Diego State, we had Brian Dutcher last night. Brian's asking about Magoon Guath. I asked about Magoon Guath. And he was supposed to see a specialist or a doctor last night. And I don't know about his availability for Saturday. I think the exact words that Dutch used, because I listened back to it actually this morning, was it would be a stretch for Magoon to be available on Saturday, which he didn't say there's no scenario in the world. I mean, maybe the doctor said, hey, you're cleared to play. But he hasn't practiced. And today would be the only day of practice for Magoon, even if he was cleared to play for Saturday. So I feel like tomorrow's a stretch to see San Diego State center Magoon Guath, who's been such a terrific player this year. But hopefully they get him back for Thursday, because they know they're playing Thursday in the Mountain West tournament. But I mean, I'd be surprised if we saw him tomorrow, Jim, just so you know.
We're going to see him tomorrow.
We'll see him on the bench.
Just not playing. It's hard to miss Magoon.
I saw him today. I saw him on campus. He was walking around. I think he was walking into Viejas Arena. But in terms of his availability for the game,
right?
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, if they can win tomorrow without him, again, that's always great when you can win a game without one of your better players and give them additional time to rest up. But it kind of sounds like, from the looks of it, hopefully, no guarantees, we see him sometime in the Mountain West Conference tournament next week.
Let me ask you this. Who would you prefer that the Aztecs played in the Mountain West tournament? Have you done the deep dive here?
I really haven't, because that's your job.
It is. So it has nothing to do with the Aztecs. No matter what they do on Saturday, they are going to play the loser of a game tonight. Boise State, they've won 5 straight. Colorado State, they've won 6 straight. Tonight's in Boise. It's their senior night. So Boise, Colorado State, would you prefer the Broncos lose? The Aztecs are 2-0 against Boise State. Yeah. Now, but again, Magoon was a big part of that last game because he had like 100 blocks.
Right.
Or Colorado State, they won here by 15 points against Colorado State. They lost there. I don't know how many points they lost, by 5.
And they just blew out Utah State.
Blew them out, blew the doors off them. 30-point win.
Yeah.
Led by as many as like 38 at one point, or 35.
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
Yeah. It was for Utah State, 100%. Yeah. So do you have a preference as to who they would play in that game on Thursday?
Do you have a preference?
My only preference is they win Saturday. I don't care who they play if they win Saturday.
Okay.
But if they lose Saturday, maybe I care more. Right?
Probably, yeah.
But I don't even know what I'd be rooting. I really don't. I feel like it's similar. Both of those teams have been playing well.
Yeah.
So they're similar.
Well, either way, you'll be playing a team that
pretty hot.
That is hot, but also will have just lost. So you won't be playing a team that's won like 8 straight or 6 straight, right? You'll be playing a team that's winning streak just got snapped.
True.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's something. I mean, wouldn't you rather be playing a team that just coming off a loss than a team that has won like 7 in a row?
Yeah, probably. And this 4-5 game that they're going to be in, which is at 2:30 in the afternoon on Thursday, I kind of prefer to, I think we've had this before, like me and Brent, where they're the 3 seed before and they play at 9:30 at night to start the tournament. I just feel like that puts you behind the 8 ball. There's less rest playing at 9:30. And do you really want to play at 9:30? And by the time the game starts, it's like 9:45. Ugh. So I say you just get it out of the way.
It's such a late start time.
Yeah. So you play 2:30 and there'll be a lot of Aztec fans there. And
I like a 2:30 start for many reasons.
Oh, yeah. You love a 2:30 start. You love a 2:30 start.
Yeah. Any time between like the 2 o'clock and like the 4 o'clock hours. It's
Have
great.
You told Aaron about, like, you could go to Cabo over the next 2 weeks? Because we have the NCAA tournament coming up, not next week, but the week after. And we'll have Westwood One's coverage of the NCAA tournament.
Well, technically I couldn't, because I still have to come in, John. I can't just like not come into the station.
We could do like a blow up, Jim. Because does anyone really know what you're doing anyway?
It reminds me of the episode. You're going to be like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The episode of Boy Meets World where Corey leaves to go see Topanga, and his brother has a blow-up doll of him at school, and everyone thinks it's actually Corey.
I didn't expect a Topanga lead segment reference today.
I didn't either, but here we are.
She may have never been mentioned in the history of the show, truthfully.
I think I may have mentioned her one time.
She has been, but that's out of right field. Yeah,
it was out of right field. But it all lines up to what you were just talking about. I'm sure a lot of people out there have no clue what I'm talking about.
What was I talking about? Because now I completely forgot.
You said it's just going to blow up doll of you, and everyone will know it's you. Everyone will think it's you. It's
because
fine.
The week of the NCAA tournament, Thursday and Friday, we'll air the games. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, San Diego State is in this tournament, and we would air San Diego State, but that's contingent on whether they're in or out, obviously.
Of course.
We're airing the games even in Dayton, right? We've aired those the last couple of years on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, those will cut our show.
Oh,
darn it.
You hate to see it.
Oh, man.
You hate to. Where are we going to get the information about whether it rained in the Cactus League or not?
Yeah, we're going to get the information or breaking down the box scores in spring training games.
Right. Right. Someone today at Orange Theory said, I didn't know the Padres had the fewest runs in the Cactus League, if not for your show. I said, we're here for you.
That's why we are here.
That's exactly why we do this show. If it wasn't a 4-hour show, you wouldn't know that they're not scoring. If it was 3 hours, I doubt we get to the fact that they can't score.
Imagine if it was 5 hours. Maybe they would get more information.
We would have their whip in the Cactus League and their on base percentages.
Yeah, and then we could actually talk about spin rates.
We could if we went to 5 hours.
That fifth hour could have been dedicated to spin rate.
I want to get into the possibility of a Padres trade candidate on the other side. And it's a significant name, and it could bolster the Padres rotation, and it may actually be realistic. So we'll do that coming up on the other side. Now, today on the show, we do have some really good giveaways. We've got those Shamrock Music and Beer Festival tickets we've been giving away. So we'll do that for Trainwreck Radio. It's a 4-pack of tickets. We'll do that at some point during the 4 o'clock hour. And then we've got these tickets to the Summer of Loud tour that's coming to Gallagher Square at Petco Park in July. And we'll give those away today as well. But Kevin Acee is going to join us at 4 with the latest from a rainy Peoria, apparently, because the Padres didn't play.
Well, they did play, but the game just got then canceled.
But you got to tarp that thing, and you got to play. You got to fight through the rain.
Dude, I think it was one of the first plays of the game. Fly ball to right, and the outfielder slipped and fell.
And that ended it?
And that was what led to it ending.
Okay.
But it was only 2 innings today. Your boy Kyle Hart, who is on a mission to win the NL West. He pitched,
right, because he said we haven't won the division in 20 years, as if he has been a part of this organization for more than 20 minutes.
He did have 2 scoreless innings today. He was supposed to go 3, but he only pitched 2.
The Cactus League won't reflect it, I don't think, because the game was canceled.
Yeah, did the stats count?
Who cares? All right, on the other side, is there a potential trade target for the Padres to bolster their rotation? Kevin Acee at 4, Chris Hodge with free picks for our listeners coming up at 4:30. It's Jon and Jim. Right, again, a reminder, make sure to download the all-new iHeartRadio app. And you can listen to San Diego State tomorrow night. You can listen to San Diego FC tomorrow night on Jammin' 95.7. But put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets. Put Jon and Jim in your presets. You can listen back on demand to any hour of the show, any interview from the show. You can listen to Ted's final regular season call as well. Tomorrow night, 7:30. And again, download the all-new iHeartRadio app. All right, Sandy Alcantara, former Cy Young Award winner, coming off Tommy John, 29 years of age. John Morosi saying today that he expects the Marlins to listen to trade offers on the right-handed starter, who has had a very good career. Again, coming off injury, has put together some outstanding seasons. And here's the thing, he's under team control through at least 2026. In fact, the club would have an option in 2027. Now, this player would not be cheap in assets, but is affordable, Jim, in terms of what he's owed. $17 million this year, $17 next year for a guy that's won a Cy Young and is only 29. He would then be owed 21 with a club option in 2027. Does San Diego make any sense here when you think about not just 2025, but 2026 and beyond as well with Alcantara?
This is the type of player that AJ would go after.
Because of the control.
The control. Yep. It's not a huge contract.
Yep.
I don't know what it would cost to get him coming off of Tommy John, who was a Cy Young Award winner in 2022. He's already fleeced Peter Bendix once. Can he do it again? Right?
AJ, yeah, that's exactly right.
Here's one of the things though, is Major League Baseball is going to be looking at the Marlins because they are how many million under the compliance number for spending money?
Is there a compliance number?
Well, they haven't spent anything. And I know that you've seen teams like the A's, they're spending money,
right?
Because Major League Baseball needs teams like to reach a certain threshold to as far as their payroll goes compared to their costs and revenue goes. They can't just pocket all the money.
But they can. That's the thing. There's no rules.
What is baseball? What would baseball do then?
There is no floor. I mean, the A's are only spending because of Las Vegas.
Well, it's more or less like not like a floor. It's like a percentage.
I mean, if it exists, that's news to me because the Marlins haven't spent, the Pirates haven't spent, the A's haven't spent until now. You know what I mean? There's a few teams that just haven't spent. So, like, what's the Marlins team payroll for next year?
It's
$47 million. So, I mean, if it's $47 million, I don't and that's all Sandy Alcantara, by the way. He makes 17. Nobody else makes more than 4.
So let's read here.
Like, I don't think there's some compliance. Is there? What's the compliance?
I thought I saw, according to Major League Baseball's collective bargaining agreement with the Players Association, teams that receive revenue sharing, like the Marlins, are required to have a luxury tax payroll that is at least equal to 1.5 times the amount they receive from the revenue sharing process, or else be subject to a potential grievance by the MLBPA.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's say, but think about that. If they receive $20 million in sharing, then they have to spend 30.
Yeah, according to The Athletic, the Marlins are expected to receive roughly $70 million in revenue sharing, which would put their minimum payroll requirement at about $105 million.
Well, they're not there.
As of the time of this article in the Miami Herald, the Marlins are projected to have a payroll of about $82.8 million for luxury tax purposes. That would be the lowest in baseball as it stands.
Well, I don't know how you're going to add payroll if you're Miami if you get rid of Alcantara. Are you going to shed $17 million this year and bring over 50?
That's why, like, the player makes sense. The contract makes sense for AJ. But if, according to what I just said there, the Marlins shedding payroll is probably not on their list of things they want to do.
Right.
Sandy Alcantara is a guy that makes a good amount of that, and you're going to want to keep him on your team. Now, you could also say, the Padres are looking to potentially shed some payroll.
Hey, we have Xander Bogaerts, Peter.
No, I
Bendix.
I really don't think that is something that would ever happen. That'd be a crazy trade. If Xander was involved and maybe a top prospect for Sandy Alcantara, I'd be shocked at that. That just, I would love
what do you
it.
think about Sandy Alcantara for Xander Bogaerts and Jake Cronenworth, Peter Bendix?
Yeah, would you do that?
Want salary?
Would you do that?
We want Sandy Alcantara.
Would you do that?
What do you think about that?
Yeah, sure. Let me do
Yeah,
that.
I love that.
Love it. Love it.
I love the idea of this player, but to your point, he makes like half of their payroll.
Right.
I mean, truly.
So
I guess they have some dead money in there, but literally, he makes 17 million. They don't have a player that's supposed to make more than 4.
you would almost have to be like, all right. This is just like a hypothetical, never would happen. But in order for this like to maybe match up, right? Jake Cronenworth, Robert Suarez, Ethan Salas, you know what I mean? Like you need to have a top prospect with 2 guys making at least some money, right? You get Robert Suarez is at what, 16 mil per this year?
Is it that much? I don't think it's
no. Sorry,
yeah.
10 mil.
10, 11.
Yeah, 10, 11. Jake's at 10, 11 there. So there's 22 million. Ethan's making obviously nothing, but the top level prospect that you need in that trade to get Sandy Alcantara. Again, that's kind of where you're looking at of how this would work, because the Marlins are going to need to keep adding payroll or sign players to money. Obviously it's March 7th and they haven't done that yet.
I was going to say, because I'm thinking more about Alcantara probably closer to a trade deadline. Maybe it happens in spring.
Yeah.
But we're already in spring. So, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah, I'm thinking trade deadline.
I'm thinking, so if it's a trade deadline acquisition, I don't know how it helps or hurts their quest of getting this payroll number where they need it.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't take on payroll like August 1st and be like, we did it. We added 30 million. That would be impossible to do.
Right.
I would think you'd almost have to do it now. And are they expected to make some big splash between now and the start of the season, Miami, to get to this 100 million number?
I don't know.
How could they even do it?
Player out there that you could do that with.
That would be the weirdest signing. They just do it to do it. Just some rando. Like, hey, like who would be like, well, Tyler Wade, like, we want to renegotiate your $900,000 deal, give you 19 million in the trade. You know what I mean? Like, just to get us to $100 million or whatever.
Yeah. Do you want Luis Ariz back? And you can sign him to a $75 million contract?
Right. Ariz in a deal for Sandy Alcantara? No, again. I love the player. I love the idea of adding that player.
Yeah.
And the Padres do seemingly make sense, but they're in on all that. Any controllable pitcher that doesn't make an arm and a leg, I love the idea of.
Yes. 2 years left to control, possibly 3 with an option. The money matches up to exactly what you would want.
Yeah, it's not crazy.
It's 17 this year. I think it's a little over 20 next year.
Now, can they take that on for now? If you're the Padres, now they're already over the CBT.
They're already spending like a little here, a little there, a little there, and it's adding up.
Off.
Yeah.
I mean, King, Cease.
Right.
You're going to need that. You're going to need someone in 2026.
You are. And while Alcantara's coming off of, Tommy John last year, there's probably going to be an innings limit for him this season, I would assume. The year where you're looking at is next year for him to have that real true bounce back.
That's a good point.
So, yeah, I could see him at the trade deadline or in the off season. But again, with what I just read there from The Athletic, the Marlins are not in a situation to continue to shed payroll. They continue to shed payroll. Baseball's not going to be happy. So if they had big contracts already, then yeah, if they were under the compliance, then absolutely go for it. But again, if you're Peter Bendix, not the smartest tool in the shed, looks like, but I'm asking for a top prospect.
Listen to his last 4 years before this Tommy John, full seasons: 197 and a third innings, 205 and 2/3 innings, 228 and 2/3 innings when he won the Cy Young, 184 and 2/3 innings. Those are his last 4 years.
He's electric.
So, and he's a workhorse.
Yep.
And he's only 29. He's thrown 900 innings, which is a big number in today's baseball, but he's only 29.
Now you'd have to see how he looks coming off of Tommy John surgery, right?
Should be good. I mean, in today's world,
everybody gets Tommy John,
and basically everyone bounces back from it. Not everyone. There's always a risk. You could have a second one,
right?
That's always possible. But no, I mean, that's a risk reward. I'm taking that risk for the reward.
All right, go with the hypothetical, because I don't think it's going to happen right now. But for a player like that, would you trade Ethan Salas?
I will answer that coming up next. Jon and Jim.
This update is brought to you by Angelo's Towing. We'll start with the Padres. Cactus League play today. They didn't lose, John, but they also didn't win. Their game got rained out today, only going 2 innings. Kyle Hart threw 2 scoreless innings today. Tomorrow, the Aztecs take on Nevada. It's senior night at Viejas Arena. 7:30 tip, 6:30 pregame. Of course, you can listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. And San Diego Football Club takes on Salt Lake tomorrow night at 6:30. You can listen to that game on our sister station, Jammin' 95.7. Stuck on the road, Angelo's Towing is here for you 24/7 with over 20 years of experience offering towing and roadside services. For friendly, fast service, call Angelo's Towing at 619-702-8888 or visit angelostowing.com.
All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Kevin Acee, Padres insider from a rainy Phoenix area. Join us at 4 p.m. Coming up at 4:30, Chris Hodge taking Vegas. All free picks for our listeners. So be listening here for Kevin Acee coming up at 4 p.m. So you asked me if I would include Ethan Salas in a trade for right-handed starter, former Cy Young Award winner Sandy Alcantara. And my answer would be not only would I do it, I would include him in a number of deals if I could bolster my big league team. And it's not to say that Ethan Salas doesn't have a promising career. He absolutely could. But Ethan Salas isn't impacting my big league team in my current window of winning, which is right now. And that's not to say he couldn't help me in the future, because I think he probably could. But it's a balancing act. And I have to ask myself, what do I need to do to win now? And if Sandy Alcantara puts me in a better position to win, not just now, it's not a rental. You get him for potentially 3 years. That's a risk worth taking for me. And I'll deal with the repercussions on the other side of it, which could be 27, 28, or who even knows. But I mean, that's the business that AJ Preller is in. He has spent a lot on this roster in terms of payroll, and they need to find a way to win at a high level immediately, not when Ethan Salas is ready to contribute at the big league level. So it's a job where you have to make tough decisions. And yeah, I don't think he's not off limits for me, is my point.
I agree with you. He's not off limits for me either. This is a big year for Ethan Salas. Big year. I think
you saw where he's going to start the year.
I did. Can you? I forget.
Double A.
Okay, Double A, and then Leo DeVries is in Single A, right?
He would be in Advanced A, Fort Wayne.
Got it. Okay.
After spending last year in the Cal League,
right,
primarily.
Yeah. I think this is a huge year for Ethan Salas. I know. We've had David J from Mad Friars on, and he still believes in Ethan Salas, but he said, look, as well, like this year for him, and you gotta, after this year, if he continues to struggle at the plate offensively, then you can start to maybe have those worries and concerns. But as of right now, still there's things that he's doing that you like a lot. Defensively, he is very advanced for his age. Offensively, he's still doing things that you like to see, especially at that age, where he is at. And if then this year he does regress or has a similar type of season to last year offensively, then you can maybe start to be like, what's going on here? But give him this year at least to let him show you. I'm kind of on that boat, I would, if Sandy Alcantara was an option and you said Ethan Salas for Sandy Alcantara straight up, Sandy Alcantara's here in a Padres uniform if it were me. But again, I'm not a GM. So if this year for Ethan Salas isn't a step forward offensively, because defensively we know he's got it, but offensively if it's not a step forward, then next off season I think AJ Preller is going to seriously have to consider, do I keep riding this thing out with Ethan, or do I try to strike while his value is still where it's at, even though he had another bad season offensively in the minors?
Yeah, again, I won't put too much stock into what a 17-year-old and then an 18-year-old did. And, so that's the hard part. But and I'm not worried about like his power or slug, but he's hit 222 in 759 plate appearances. I mean, are we just going to discount it all and say none of it matters because he was 17 in the minor leagues or 18 in the minor leagues? And, starting him in Double A this year, when a year ago he hit 220, I don't even know if he needs to start the year in Double A. I don't really know what the hurry is. He's 18. You need him in the big leagues at 19? He hasn't shown you as of yet that he would be in the big leagues at 19. So I don't know. I'm with you. It's a fine line because if he does, to your point, continue down this trajectory or even take a step back or get injured or whatever, like at some point you won't have the same value. Right now, he's still a top 30 major league prospect, right? Yeah. Prospect.
He's dropped every year.
Yeah. And at some point you go, I've seen this play out. I mean, I don't know if you know this. I worked in the minor leagues.
What?
For 15 years. Oh. You go from the top prospect in baseball to not a prospect overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing it with a Phillies AAA prospect by the name of Dominic Brown. He was cannot miss, untouchable out of baseball. That's the order of it. It happens that quick. You go from hot guy to not, like nobody wants you.
Remember, we can't trade Robert Hassel. Can't trade Robert Hassel.
Exactly.
Have you heard Robert Hassel's name at all the last 2 years?
Not really. I'm sure we've mentioned it, but briefly.
On the national stage? No, you haven't.
What's he done?
And yet, all I heard while he was here is Bobby Barrels. Dude can hit. I heard one thing about Robert Hassel since he got traded to the Nationals. Not one thing. So you're right. These teams, they value their prospects and they put them on the pedestal for good reason because they have to. I mean, that's their job is to promote these prospects and make sure that they have the highest rankings they possibly can get. Put them in the futures games. Put them in, showcases,
right?
Hype them up to scouts, right? Like, have you seen him do this? Have you seen him do that, right? Make sure that these guys have, the highest ceiling possible at this moment in time. So if there is an opportunity to trade them, you can be like, I'll give you my number third prospect, And in reality, that third prospect in your organization actually sucks.
Yeah, I'll give you here's what I would say. You always get wary when a player is the top prospect in an organization for 3 years.
Yeah, why hasn't he come up yet?
Now, again, you have to take some of that with a grain of salt. Guys like DeVries and Salas are so darn young that you're not going to break through as an 18 or 19-year-old. That's almost unheard of in baseball. So, okay, I get it. You're a top prospect at 18. You're a top prospect at 19. You're but you can't be a top prospect for 5 years. It doesn't work like that. And the player I referenced earlier, in his big league career, who was untouchable and the Phillies would not trade, and with their top prospect in the organization for 3 consecutive years, had a .7 career WAR in the major leagues. Now, there are other top prospects that go on to be Hall of Famers. This is the job of A.J. Preller in the front office. Yeah. You don't want to miss, but you also can't afford to hold on to something that doesn't have value. But they're not there yet because he's 18 years old. Mm-hmm. But if you can help your team in 2025, you have to be tempted to at least consider that.
Right. I think this is the year where, and I could be wrong, probably am, but if you don't see real improvement offensively from Ethan Salas in the minors this season, I don't know how they're going to view him next offseason. Because that would just be weird to be like, if he has another year where he hits 220 in the minors, and all of a sudden next year in spring training, they're talking about him making the big leagues. Like, what?
Right.
I know you don't have to have seasons in the minors where the dude hits 350. Jackson Merrill didn't do that in the minors.
Correct.
And he came up and he's an all-star and he's one of the best players in baseball right now.
That's a good point.
But also I think you do have to show something. You can't just continue have 1,000 at bats in the minors and have a 220 average, regardless of where you're at.
What's interesting is, and we could get into the catching situation a little later, is that they don't have a lot of offense at that position for years on end, whether it was, the Austin Nolas or Higgy last year hit, but now they're counting on Luis Campisano or Martin Maldonado, right? So it's not like Ethan Salas is so far removed. I don't know how far removed he is from hitting 200 in the big leagues, but it's not like they've been getting 300 hitters year in and year out at at catcher, and now they would take a step back. I mean, they've had some years where they've gotten production. They've had other years where they haven't.
And they're also in a spot where, you have to win right now. You can't be like, in 2028. Because guess what? In 2028, this thing is going to look completely different.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
So it's like, how do I maximize 2025 and 2026? How do I maximize that?
I guess the last point on that is okay, you did bring in Ethan Salas when Roki Sasaki came here and you're trying to woo him or lure him at the time. I don't think they did that just because. I think as of now, they do really envision this player as
I
a
do too.
significant piece of their future. But I guess I would just say my cautionary tale is things happen very quickly. And if he has another year, to your point, which is uninspiring, again, he's young. I think it could all be overcome. He could be amazing as a 25-year-old. Well, that's 7 years from now.
Yeah.
So that's very possible. I would never discount that as a possibility, even if he struggled this year and next. But all of a sudden, you're going to look at your watch and be like, time, like, we got to go here. We're not thinking 28, 29 right now. We're thinking 25, 26.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And, you can't wait on these things. You have to act, because in 7 years, when he's 25, everybody could be gone. Everybody. AJ, Schilt, Merrill.
Yeah.
Like everybody.
Right.
And right now, as a 19-year-old going into his age 19 season.
Yeah. Okay. That's exactly right.
I'm sorry, but show me the last catcher at 19, 20 years old that came to the big leagues and immediately popped.
It's been forever. And here's the thing, and I agree, like some people would say, like, what's the rush? There isn't one. You know what your rush is? To win at the big league level. And
With
I'm talking really win.
Yeah.
Like get to a World Series. Like Manny Machado is not going to play some big role in a World Series team 5 years from now.
I think we can all agree who's more important to this franchise.
Yeah, Manny or Ethan Salas?
Manny Machado, not even close.
Because he's on your big league team right now, and you got to win with him now in 2026. All right, on the other side, what happened last night in LA with Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James? We've got the latest on that. The day that Stephen A. Smith gets his $100 million deal, he also gets a mouthful from LeBron James. We are here until 6 p.m. Kevin Acee will swing by at 4. This is Jon and Jim. Stephen A. Smith.
Your boy.
We spent some time with him yesterday, the $100 million deal, which I think is more than we both make combined. If you think about that.
John.
It's a lot of money.
It's more than we make combined times 100 million.
Right. Not to mention he's already made a lot. Right. He was just making $12 million a year, and before that he was making $8 million. You get the point. He's made a lot of money.
Yes.
Okay. That's fine. We could argue. We could argue the merits. Whatever. Good for him.
Honestly, I'm very, very jealous.
Yeah, but it's hard because the rich get richer. Like to our collective point, like that as they lay off other people, and then he gets rich. Whatever.
Like such as good people.
Such as capitalism. The world keeps spinning. It happens, right? Why is it that actors make all this money and we lay off teachers or firefighters or police officers? Right. I mean, correct. Life isn't always fair. So lay out what happened, because I think a lot of people saw what happened at Staples or whatever it used to be Staples last night, right? LeBron and Stephen A. face to face. Stephen A. getting a faceful and a mouthful from LeBron James. What played out last night in Los Angeles, the same day that it was officially announced that Stephen A. Smith is going to be with ESPN for forever and get at least $100 million out of
So recently on First Take, we have to go back to the origin of why LeBron, allegedly why he's upset. This isn't like a fact. This isn't
because he hasn't spoken on it publicly other than this, right? Yeah.
But I think it's pretty easy to figure that this is why LeBron isn't very happy with Stephen A. Smith. Listen to Stephen A. Smith on First Take talking about his son Bronny. We don't have it?
Come on, Jim.
All right, well, what do we have?
The Barkley rant.
You have the Barkley rant in there?
Thought I put the Stephen A. Smith
job,
one.
Jim.
You have his response to him and LeBron last night.
I did put the wrong one in. Sorry.
Holy, there's a reason why Stephen A. makes $100 million and we make what we make.
Well, no one told me. Anyway, all right. So basically, Stephen A. Smith.
What did Stephen A. say?
I'm telling you, Stephen A. Smith was calling out Bronny, saying like, "Hey, LeBron, this is a joke. I can't believe you're letting your son do this. Like, he's not an NBA player. He's not good. Like, you got to be a good father here and end this charade and yada yada yada." Right?
Well, hasn't everyone said that?
Yes, but.
Is it true that that's not true. A hot take?
Yeah. It's not.
We're being honest. Now it comes from Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah. And then last night at the game, LeBron, during a timeout, goes up to Stephen A. Ironically, guess who is sitting next to Stephen A. Smith?
You said it was Larry David. Larry David, yeah.
And if you know, you know.
Right.
And so you got Larry David sitting there. You got Stephen A. Smith, who is like standing up clapping for something. Mm-hmm. LeBron walks over, gets into his face, and you can kind of lip read. He is saying, "Keep your son's name out of your mouth.
My son's name out of your mouth.
Keep my son's name out of your mouth." But you don't really know for sure. And then Stephen A. Smith this morning on First Take explained what happened last night.
That was LeBron James coming up to me, unexpectedly, I might add, to confront me about making sure that I mind what I say about his son. Can't repeat the words because they ain't suited for FCC airwaves. That's what he was doing.
All right. So he was confirmed talking to Stephen A. Smith about his son, Bronny. What do you think of that?
Here's what I think. I think they're both in the right. What I mean by that is when you have a child, like we get so caught up in this LeBron superstar, public figure, but he's a dad, and like that's his kid. So like he's heard a lot of it. He hasn't reacted to everything ever said about Bronny. There's been a lot of stuff said, including here, and we're not the only one. Stephen A. is not the only thing. At some point, it boils over. Stephen A. is a huge mouthpiece in basketball. So LeBron didn't like what he said. I think it's completely reasonable as a father about your son. And then Stephen A. Smith is doing what he's paid to do. So, like, I think what's fair is fair both ways. I think no rules were broken either way. I understand it from LeBron's perspective. Nobody would want that about their child. LeBron, it's not Bronny's fault that LeBron is his dad. You know what I mean? That's not his fault. And it's not LeBron's fault that he wants to stick up for his son. I think any reasonable father would do that. And it's also not Stephen A.'s position to not do his job. He's in that business. He's getting paid to be polarizing and be a little rough around the edges. I don't have an issue with it either way. From LeBron's perspective, I actually thought it played out maybe a little differently, and Stephen A was willing to maybe have a conversation being there courtside. I've always respected when someone says something on that platform and then is willing to go like in a locker room and be next to an athlete. Now, that didn't play out in that exact manner.
No.
But I don't have a problem with LeBron doing it the way he did, and I don't have a problem with Stephen A. Smith voicing his opinion on the subject either.
I think I agree with you, but I do think that it's going to come off looking worse for LeBron than Stephen A.
It may.
Because, and the person in this whole entire thing that gets hurt the most is Bronny. Because Bronny is an adult. He's in the NBA. He's a professional athlete. He's getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Okay. Now, if you want to say the only reason why that is because of LeBron, okay, go ahead. But the fact of the matter is, the dude is a professional athlete. He's an adult. Okay. So that's one. And if I'm Bronny, I am so embarrassed by this, because now the look of your dad, who is on your team, he's a teammate, is going to, Stephen A. Smith, a guy on First Take who has criticized you and fighting your battles for you. I would never want my parents in that situation to be fighting my battles. I'd be so embarrassed if I was Bronny.
True, but it's like this is like a parental instinct. Like,
I know it is.
LeBron James is doing it because he's probably heard enough. And he doesn't comment on it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you're 10 feet away from someone that just had said this. And you just say, you know what? I'm going to do it. Whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm going to do it. I'm with you. I don't think it was probably the forum to do it. I mean, I think you probably would prefer doing it maybe in person in a locker room or even over a phone.
Like, hey, LeBron, I know you know when there's cameras around. I know it.
Well, of course he knows there's cameras around.
So this was calculated. This was something that he knew was going to get picked up.
Of course he knew.
But
he doesn't care.
I know he doesn't care.
He's had a lot of stuff over the years.
I just think that LeBron's doing Bronny a disservice by trying to fight his own battles. And I think, when LeBron years and years and years ago says he regretted naming his firstborn after him, LeBron James Jr., it's for reasons like this that are going to come back to really hurt Bronny.
Bronny is definitely the unintended, he's just there. It's not his fault.
Friendly fire.
Yeah, it is friendly fire in here. I don't have a huge issue with it in any direction. I really don't. I mean, Stephen A. didn't say anything that hasn't been said everywhere. And LeBron didn't do anything that other people wouldn't do when you start talking about their family. Now, I get it. You're right. He's a professional athlete, his son.
But guess what?
So he should be within his fair game. But at the end of the day, it's also LeBron James' son.
Guess what? There was nothing that Stephen A. Smith said about Bronny that crossed any line. Nothing. It was all about a player that he is, criticizing, and a professional athlete that he is criticizing. Nothing went over the line. Nothing went to a place of he shouldn't have said that. It was all basically part of the job.
But he called out LeBron.
Okay.
In his rambling about Bronny doesn't deserve to be there. Like, LeBron, what are you doing? This is a sham. Like, you're the reason why this is playing out, right?
Okay, then if that's the case, then LeBron should be like, "Hey man, you got a problem with me? You got to talk to me."
Right.
And maybe that was said. I guess
he said maybe a little bit of that.
Maybe,
yeah.
But when you
keep your son's name, my son's name, out of your mouth.
It reminds me of just like the Will Smith moment at the Oscars, where he's like, "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth."
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when things get
Will
personal,
Smith looks awful in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, but when it gets personal. I mean, I think LeBron obviously deemed it to be extremely personal. Although, to your point, Bronny's he's a big boy. He's a professional athlete. He's getting paid like the rest of them.
Yeah, it's just,
I don't know how it ends with the Bronny saga. I really don't.
I don't know, but I don't think LeBron has done his son any favors.
No, I don't think so either.
I really don't.
I don't think so either. It hasn't played out perfectly.
No favors. Sure. He got him drafted by the Lakers when he shouldn't have been drafted.
Yep.
He has gotten him on the court when he shouldn't have been on the court. He has gotten him the contract that he has gotten as a second-round draft pick when he shouldn't have got that contract. He should be a G League player. He should be a guy that is an undrafted player fighting for his life and trying to pave his own path. Instead, LeBron's trying to do it for him.
True, but at the end of the day, the Lakers are fine. You know, it hasn't hurt their organization.
And it's LeBron James, so whatever. Right?
It's their best spot since the bubble in 2020. They might win an NBA championship in 2025. But you're right. I mean, would Bronny James be in the NBA otherwise if his dad wasn't LeBron? We all know the answer to that. All right, we'll get back to the Padres on the other side. Take a look at their catching situation heading into 2025. We'll hear from Mark Cuban on that Lakers-Mavs trade, the trade for Luka Doncic as well. And Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, will join us at 4 p.m. Hour 2, Jon and Jim next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Angelo's Towing. Padres spring training today. Game got rained out. They did play 2 innings. Kyle Hart pitched both of those. It was scoreless 2 innings in Peoria, but again, the game got rained out. Aztecs take on Nevada tomorrow night, 7:30 tip, 6:30 pregame. Listen to the game right here on San Diego Sports 760. And San Diego FC takes on Salt Lake tomorrow night at 6:30. You can listen to that game on our sister station, Jammin' 95.7. Stuck on the road, Angelo's Towing is here for you 24/7 with over 20 years of experience offering towing and roadside services for friendly, fast service. Call Angelo's Towing at 619-702-8888 or visit angelostowing.com.
The Aztecs finish up the regular season at Viejas Arena against the Nevada Wolfpack tomorrow with the Mountain West Tournament next week and a spot in the dance. Plus, it's Game 3 for SDFC out in Utah. And how can the Padres get right out in Arizona? We'll talk about it all with Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. And this hour, Jim, I want to give away a pair of tickets to Summer of Loud. And that'll be at Gallagher Square, Petco Park, July 2nd. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. So we'll do that this hour. Kevin Acee will join us in 1 hour. Chris Hodge taking Vegas will join us in 90 minutes. That's an hour and a half.
Wow. What do we do in 2 hours from now?
In 2 hours, we will talk to each other.
What do we do in 3 hours from now?
We go home. 3 hours from now, we're driving home. And that's when the Padres trade for like Sandy Alcantara at 6:03 on a Friday.
Right.
Just to bother us. We had 4 hours. You could have traded for him at 2:01.
Yeah, what are we doing, guys? Come on.
No. Well, the last time they did anything, the Nick Pivetta deal came down at 6:03.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was
that a Friday night?
It was on Friday.
Exactly.
It's a Friday night, 6:03, driving home. I get the notification. I'm like, what the hell?
Right.
And then I know we did an emergency wrap-up show, I think.
Oh, it was a huge emergency.
And then away we go.
So listen to this. The Padres won in February on a Wednesday. They've since lost at the A's, at the Mariners, at the Reds, versus the Royals, at the Cubs versus the Giants in a split squad day, versus the Rockies, at the Rangers, and today they were canceled by rain. Their next chance to beat someone is tomorrow when Cleveland will be in Peoria. So hopefully that happens is all I'm going to say. When are you going to circle their next win? I'll circle tomorrow.
When do we start getting
I'm very
concerned?
I'm concerned. I'm not concerned. But man, that's a long time. What's the longest losing streak in Cactus League history? And is it this? Isn't it just inevitable that you win half your games in the Cactus League? The teams aren't trying.
I actually want to see the Padres lose every single Cactus League game for the remainder of the Cactus
We kind of said that. What if they stay healthy, but they lose all these games? Who cares?
I want to see them legitimately go 3-26
right.
or whatever, how many games they have left.
Yeah, you're probably right. Somewhere in there.
I need that to happen.
No, you don't.
I do.
Why?
If you went 3-26 in the Cactus League,
I'd still be. I wouldn't. It wouldn't impact my outlook.
I'm just trying to think what at all, if at all, anything in the Cactus League other than injuries would
impact my opinion.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I mean, but
I just want to see it because it'd be funny to see.
This isn't going to happen. Machado's already homered, but if Machado in 26 plate appearances was 0 for 24 with 2 walks,
yeah,
I'd have some commentary, but I wouldn't say that's going to impact his regular season.
So no commentary if they go 3-25.
No, I don't even know who these guys are.
I know nobody knows who these guys are.
I'm looking at who's playing in the 4th inning, and I've never heard of them.
Yeah, they have so far through the first couple weeks of Cactus League played literally nobodies. No offense, but literally guys that I've never heard of in my entire life.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, are these creative players from MLB The Show? What's going on here?
Do we have any concern about the catching spot? This is an organization that a couple of years ago was in the NLCS. They weren't exactly tearing the cover off the ball that year with their catching. Last year, they got good production, obviously. Kyle Higashioka, but Luis Campusano hasn't panned out. So now you got, Campy, Maldonado, Elias Diaz. It's not glamorous, I wouldn't say. Are there better catching platoons or catching, options in the major leagues? Yeah, they probably are. But, I mean, is it a reason to get overly concerned that this is where they are, and they're maybe betting a little bit on Luis Campusano, who hasn't shown it yet at the big league level. They're betting on Elias Diaz, who was cut by the Rockies last year.
So I saw Kevin's article today about this.
About the catcher being the quarterback of the team, Jim.
Yeah, and really highlighting Martin Maldonado. Yeah, I just don't see it, guys. I'm sorry. I just don't.
What do you not see?
I don't see this defensive wizard that you just have to have on your team. It just, guy can't hit, and defensively, look at his advanced stats defensively from last year. They're awful.
They are?
Yeah.
Martin Maldonado?
Martin Maldonado.
Were you sitting there around a campfire with
Go to his
Aaron?
Fangraph page.
I don't want to. I'll trust you.
You can if you want.
What about when Schultz says, I love the Maldonado back pick to second and having the courage to do it with the runner at third? What about that?
Oh, my God.
February 26th against the Mariners, because that's when he said it.
I'm sorry. I just don't see it with Martin. This is the one spot on this team that I am very concerned about. And until proven otherwise, I will be concerned about. Like last year, I was in the same boat. But guess what happened? Higgy proved everybody wrong. I hope one of these guys proves me wrong. I really do. I hope either Elias Diaz, Martin Maldonado, or Campy goes out, puts up a season where they have 15 home runs. They catch 115 games behind the plate. At the end of the year, they're catching every day because this team is about to get to the postseason. I would love that. But as of right now, I just don't see it.
So would you be concerned if Martin Maldonado in 147 plate appearances hit 119 like he did last year with the White Sox?
Yeah, that'd be bad.
That'd be bad.
That'd be bad.
That would be like, how many hits is that in 147? Not a lot.
It's almost like
10
going back to when pitchers hit. You would have legitimately your 9-hole hitter
as a pitcher
when the whole point of bringing the DH into it, so you wouldn't have guys hitting 119 in your lineup. That's where I'm like, you better be the best defensive catcher on the history of the freaking planet if you're going to be hitting 115.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I don't consider Martin Maldonado to be the best freaking defensive catcher on the planet. I just don't. At his age,
he's 38. Yeah,
I don't. Maybe 5 years ago.
I mean, is he even going to play? We're talking a lot about Maldonado, and I read this article, or I'm reading it right now, but we're led to believe that day one, it's Elias Diaz and Luis Campusano, right? They're not going to carry 3 catchers. Not going to carry a third catcher that hit 100. So,
or
Campy's going to start in AAA because he has options.
It's 2 of the 3. We know that.
Right, but would you say that as of today, just in your head, Maldonado would be the third? Diaz got $3.5 million. He's going to be on the team. Campusano is still not young, not old. And are they really going to put him in AAA to start the year? The 26-year-old?
Like Kevin writes here, the 191 average with a 606 OPS in 407 plate appearances he had for the Astros in 2023. That might be able, they might be able to absorb that, meaning the Padres. Are you serious?
I mean, they may, because they probably have previously Hedges, Nola, right? I mean, they haven't exactly been tearing the cover off the ball.
He mentions, that the organization is very intrigued, and the reason why they signed him is because of Maldonado's defense.
Well, you're telling me it's advanced analytics, or did they not look at the advanced analytics page? The Padres, did they skip that?
They watch with their eyes.
Give me your Fangraph. Break it down for me. Give me his speed on this throws down to second.
Martin Mal.
Yeah, tell me why his defense is terrible.
Stat cast. I just don't see it. I don't. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but thinking about a 38-year-old catcher that hit what 119 with last year and hasn't not hit over 200 in how many years?
But I mean, I'm not concerned because he might only play like 30 games for them.
All right. So last year, John, I'm looking at his Baseball Savant page.
Okay.
All right. Catching. I mean, I don't know how to break these numbers down.
Yeah, break them down.
But what I do know is when everything is dark blue, that's bad.
As opposed to red, which is good. You're saying?
Right. And
like what percentile is he?
Okay. Framing. He's in the 28th percentile.
Okay, so you're saying not great.
Caught stealing above average. He's in the 23rd percentile.
How's that above average?
I don't know. Blocks above average. I'm just reading what it says here. And again, I don't know these advanced numbers. I'm telling you that right now. But what I do know is when everything is in the blue, it's not good.
But what if I said it this bluntly? Who cares? He's their third catcher. Right? He's their third catcher. He's not their first catcher. Hey, their second catcher.
And I'll give him credit. 2023, defensively, very good.
All right. So, but he's also old. I mean, how many games is he going to play for the Padres? The third catcher who's 38.
I don't know.
25? I mean, I get it because maybe Campy isn't capable of holding down backup catcher. Therefore, Martin Maldonado slides in. I'm honestly not that worried about it.
Okay.
Because they don't need. I mean, do they need their catcher to hit 20 home runs this year? They certainly weren't forecasting for it because they let Kyle Higashioka walk.
I just don't. In today's game, to have your catcher hitting 119.
Here's a bet. He'll hit better than that.
You think?
I know.
Okay.
You can't hit 119. I could hit 119. You know, I'm not saying he's going to hit 290. But I don't think he's going to hit 119. I also don't think he's going to play.
Yeah, Kevin's like, oh, they can absorb a 190 hitter with a 600 OPS. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that.
The point is, it's backstop first. It's defense first. It's calling first.
Well, then you better
be great at that.
Be really good defensively. Now, you were good defensively 2 years ago, but can you go back to that? Or are you washed?
It could be the latter.
It could be the latter.
The latter. We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah.
Special guest we'll tell you about on the other side. Joining us today.
Oh.
We'll hear from Mark Cuban on this Luka trade as well. Shoot, Barry Bonds is chiming in on Shohei Ohtani.
Oh.
So we'll hear from Mark Cuban coming up and Barry Bonds. And we're going to give away tickets to the Summer of Loud tour as well. Gallagher Square, Petco Park on July 2nd. We'll do that coming up in the next 15 minutes. It's Jon and Jim. All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. The award show for fans is back. Jim, let's celebrate. It's the iHeartRadio Music Awards coming back to Fox March 17th. And on Monday at 6 a.m., find out which of your favorite artists will be performing. Don't miss it. Monday at 6 a.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. So we just turn on the radio at 6 a.m. and boom, they tell you who's going to be performing on March 17th on Fox at the iHeartRadio Music Awards. So maybe wake up early. Would you wake up at 6 a.m. for anything? What would it take to have you wake up at 6 a.m.? And I'm being dead serious. Give me something you would wake up at 6 a.m. for. Not like, of course, I'm going on vacation. I have to be up. But like something from a content or news perspective. If I told you like, hey, we're going to announce a new show, a new sports talk show, and you're going to find out at 6 a.m. on Monday, but you're not going to know until then, would you wake up for it?
Does it involve me?
Maybe. Like, we don't know. Like, maybe they're moving Jon and Jim. Maybe they're bringing in a new show. This is pretty much a hypothetical because I don't think it's happening.
No.
What if I told you the Padres would make a big trade at 6 a.m. on Monday? You would be up for it.
Yeah.
Because you'd be like curious. Like, what is the trade?
I would be.
Yeah.
You know, I did have to be up at like 4:30 a.m. for a solid 2 years.
I don't know how you did that. Honestly.
It was a joke.
Well, you said you missed a couple of like shows.
I didn't miss a couple shows. You just like showed up right at like 4:59.
The show started at 5 or 6.
Started at 5 a.m. It was
Why?
It was the dumbest thing ever.
Who's up at 5 a.m.?
And I had to do that shift once too. It sucks.
I thought
But you woke up for the Korea series.
I did do that.
That
yeah.
was not going to sleep.
I didn't go to sleep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just stayed up, and that was also awful. Actually, no, I take that back. I did go to sleep.
I don't think there's anything worse than a morning show that starts at 5 in the morning.
No,
like, okay,
it was-
6, get it. People are getting up. They're getting in the shower. They're getting ready.
Dude.
5?
Dude.
In San Diego?
It was ridiculous how that show, and it was Dan freaking Cilio.
Was there a big listening audience at 5 a.m.?
Not for him. And
There's no one awake.
And no, there's nobody awake. It's made no sense. And it was from 5 to 9. I'm like, what are we
that's
doing?
Dude, was your life awful? What time would you, because you don't go to sleep that late, but you can't be going to sleep at 11 o'clock and waking up at 3 something in the morning every day. That's impossible.
I would go to bed at like midnight.
All the time?
Now
You'd be a zombie.
Because I couldn't. No, I would go to bed at midnight. I would get done with the show at like 9.
Right. You go
be
back
home
to
by like
sleep.
9:45.
Take
a nap from like 10 to 2. And then
yeah, but you're just like a walking zombie,
yeah,
right?
so I was a walking zombie. I was
It's the worst.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Darren called and was like, "Can you be my producer?"
You're like, what time's your show?
I'm like, yes, please.
So you're saying that if we got called in tomorrow by our superiors, or what's the term? Management,
yeah,
and said, "Hey, listen, we love the show, but we want 5 to 9 a.m. and 2 to 6."
yeah, probably.
You would be like, "Thanks, but no thanks."
You should have never said that, because now you're just throwing ideas out there that might stick.
What about 4 to 8?
About
4
3 to
a.m.
9.
3, yeah, exactly. All right. So I teased this special guest at 5 p.m. Anyone want to take guesses?
I know.
Well, you already know the answer because I told you and I told Brent.
Brent knows. I know.
Ted Lightner, Uncle Teddy, will join us at 5 p.m. Now, he's calling his final regular season Aztec game tomorrow night at 7:30. We'll have senior night festivities, by the way. He's going to kind of lead us through that on the radio, by the way, tomorrow. But pregame's going to start at 6:30. Ted Lightner, who is concluding his 30th season with San Diego State men's basketball. Think about this. You think we're busy, and we have been at times. We do wrap-up show and yada, yada. I do Aztecs. I do more than you do. But you think you're busy.
Okay.
Ted, at one point, did his radio show. He did his newscast, sportscast show, right? He did Padres, Chargers, Clippers. Maybe at one point, at even the same time. Someone would have to correct me on that.
We can ask him.
We could.
Like
Yeah,
during like the heyday, Ted.
What's the most
What's the most
games you worked in a year?
Exactly. Like, how many games were you the broadcaster for in
But
1 year?
slash shows, because he had like either a 3 or 4 hour radio show plus sportscasting 5 nights a week.
Yeah, like give me the busiest time of your life, Ted, as a broadcaster.
Right.
Was it in the
Well, probably
90s.
I would guess, because I don't know when he was calling Charger games, because he wasn't calling Clippers games in the 90s. They were already gone.
Yeah. What about the 80s?
Yeah, it might have been the 80s.
You were doing television. Did you also have a radio show at that time? I'm not really sure because I wasn't here back then.
You weren't alive in the 80s, dude.
Well, I was alive in the last, like, 1989.
Yeah, and I'm sure the first thing you did was like tune on the.
I'm like, where's Ted Lightner?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Teddy is going to join us at 5. Can't wait for that. I was going to say something, but I totally forgot.
That's great.
I completely forgot my train of thought.
Well, my train of thought is he has seen some really good San Diego State teams. I mean, his career calling the Aztecs. Now he's seen both. He saw pre-Fisher Dutcher era and now where it is, right? He saw them go 6-24 or whatever they went some years in the 80s. But then he's seen them go to a national championship game. I think he has said the highlight of his career from a call perspective, and we can ask him this, is Lamont Butler's shot in Houston in the Final Four. And he's called World Series, multiple.
Has he? You made me think, like, so he's been on the call and, you know, broadcasting for these teams.
Mm-hmm.
Every single great team that's been in San Diego, he's at least at one point in his career been on the call for.
What do you mean by every single great team? You mean like major league team?
Like
I don't know if anyone would call the Clippers the great one.
But if a team had a great year, like the Padres in 98, the Aztecs a couple years ago.
Oh, I got you.
You know what I mean? Like
I got you.
Chargers when they went to the Super Bowl.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer. Was he doing Chargers then?
I think Hacksaw was doing Chargers back then.
Yeah. But yeah, you're saying like the most memorable seasons
of your career.
But you're saying in sports history in San Diego. Now, I don't know if he was with the Padres in 2022 when they went to the LCS through the Dodgers.
He was not, but he was with them in 98.
Good point. Which is even better.
That's a better team than anything in the 2020s.
Yeah, he might have said also that's kind of the highlight of his career, that Yankees Padres World Series. He grew up in New York.
With him and Jerry.
Yeah, and he was born in.
But he's seen it all. He's seen all of it. So he is the San Diego sports encyclopedia.
No doubt. And he will join us coming up at 5 p.m. Now, I promised you a giveaway, and we're going to do that right now. Who wants 2 free tickets to the Summer of Loud concert at Gallagher Square, Petco Park? This is July 2nd, okay? So July 2nd, Summer of Loud, Gallagher Square, Petco Park, July 2nd. First caller to 877-767-4760. You're going. Call right now, 877-767-4760. We have 2 free tickets to the Summer of Loud that is coming up at Petco Park again on July 2nd. Kevin Acee will join us at 4. What does Mark Cuban have to say about the Luka trade? We'll hear from Mark Cuban. On the other side is Jon and Jim.
This update is brought to you by the San Diego Seals. We'll start with the Padres. Their Cactus League game got rained out and canceled after 2 innings. Kyle Hart threw both of those innings, and it was a scoreless 2 innings for him. Aztecs take on Nevada tomorrow night, 7:30 tip, 6:30 pregame. Listen to the game right here on San Diego Sports 760. And San Diego Football Club takes on Salt Lake tomorrow night without Chucky Lozano. 6:30 start time. You can listen to that game on our sister station, Jammin' 95.7 FM. Friday Night Lights, box lacrosse style, Friday, March 7th. That is tonight at 7:30 p.m. The Seals take on the Vancouver Warriors for Stick Up for a Cure Night. Don't miss the action. Plus, the first 2,000 fans grab a Seals beach towel. Tickets at sealslax.com.
Jon Jim.
I was about to sneeze mid-read there. I had to speed it up.
It's amazing how you only sneeze basically during the show, not during the ad break.
Am I the worst person to be like
Yes,
someone
you
who
are.
talks for a living?
Oh, like, yeah, like,
Just sneeze all the
right.
time?
Do you have the skills and attributes to be a sports talk host? Is that what you're asking?
No, I just said to talk for a living.
Right.
It's almost like you're allergic to work. As soon as you
Yeah.
have to talk, then the sneezes come. Commercial break, you're fine.
That's what I'm saying. Like, for someone that's a sports talk host, you always have allergies.
Mhm.
You're let me put this as nicely as I can.
You can't put it nice, dude.
You're not like, are you a wordsmith? I don't know if I would like call you a wordsmith. Are you like a great orator? Like, are you going to be remembered for like the manner in which you speak? But you say it like it is.
I just don't. I don't have the encyclopedia in my head to use these
All the big words.
Yeah, and I
No, your best
just-
trait.
just tell it like it is.
Yes, and that's a really, really, really important thing.
Yeah, I guess
No, it is. It is. Look at you now.
there was a time when I was growing up, my mom back in our hometown, she got called in for some reason to like our local radio show to promote something.
Okay.
And she took me in. This was when I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. Like, oh, radio, like this is so awesome. And they take me into the radio station, and my mom's getting interviewed on the radio, and I'm sitting in the corner. And before I remember, like this is very vividly, getting in the studio, I met like the DJ or whoever, and they told me where I was going to sit, and like, be careful, that's the sneezing corner. So my mom's doing the interview on the radio.
No, you didn't sneeze as an 8-year-old.
I 100% sneezed
Stop.
as an 8-year-old in a radio studio for the first time while she was on the air. And then, of course, they mentioned it. So this goes way back.
They
dude.
mentioned on the air that you sneezed, and this happened almost 30 years ago.
Right. So this goes
Yeah,
way
you
back.
still got into this business.
Well, I still not only
And you
did I get
still
in this business, I still sneeze on the while I'm in a radio
So
studio.
have you been sneezing for forever in terms of like a regularly sneezing? Like, would you go to school as a 10-year-old and just sneeze?
There'd be times where, yes, I have allergy attacks. One time when I was working as
I hope not in a restaurant.
as a server in a restaurant, I had a sneezing attack where it was so bad they sent me home.
Surprise!
I know,
You
I
can't
know.
sneeze on people's food.
I didn't, but I remember I was like, I got to go outside because I started to sneeze and I went outside, and it was probably like 10 or 12 consecutive sneezes in a row. And
Mhm.
finally,
Someone came out.
my boss came out. He's like, dude, you got to go home. You can't stay here. I was like, okay.
This is like a constant theme throughout the course of your
Yes.
life. I didn't realize that.
Once I start sneezing and I feel it coming on,
Right.
I just can't stop. It's
Yeah.
a problem.
The more I think about it, I have never met anyone that sneezes as much as you in my life.
it's a problem, dude. Like when I have a tickle in my nose, it turns into
Have
a
you seen anyone
disaster.
about it? Like
No.
a ENT?
No.
That's you know what that stands for?
No. ENT?
You don't know what that stands
What's
for.
an ENT? Tell me.
Brent.
Said MT, not NT, right?
No, ENT. Neither of you know?
What's an ENT? Like
An
allergy?
ENT?
What's an ENT?
Ear, nose, and throat doctor.
Oh,
They do what we do for like it's for people like you.
I probably should.
People that speak and they're like, why can't I speak? Or why is my nose always, whatever. Gosh. Can we get an ENT sponsor for Jim, please? 877-767-4766.
Do you have problems sneezing while you're at work?
Yeah, or like
Same with
yeah.
me. Let me help you out.
87. Call us if you want to sponsor Jim. If you're an ENT. Mark Cuban.
By the way, James goes, Jim, did you know that when you sneeze, you stop breathing? So you could actually die if you do it long enough. Be safe.
That will so be your like on your death certificate sneezing. You'll be the first sneezing death certificate since like 1884.
There are times where I am worried when I'm driving of sneezing.
Right, because your eyes close when you sneeze.
Yeah.
And then you're just going to drive
And then
off
if you
the
keep
road.
your eyes open, you're like, that was an awful experience when I just sneezed there.
My theory on that, if I have to sneeze when I'm in my car, my theory is just do it, because how many people sneeze a day in the car? 1 million. And it's not like everyone's getting a crash for a split second sneeze. Is that a legitimate excuse if you get like, why'd you crash? I sneezed?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless you like go.
For you,
achoo,
it should
achoo,
be.
achoo,
For
achoo,
you, we
achoo.
play this back as evidence in the court case. Listen to what he said March 7th,
There's
2025.
visual evidence of me having sneezing attacks.
Exactly. All right, can we segue to Mark Cuban?
Let's do it.
Who had some commentary on this Luka trade. Okay. So let's hear from Mark Cuban, who's no longer representing ownership with the Mavericks.
He's not the majority owner of the team now.
Right. So let's hear from Mark Cuban and react.
Was your son upset about the trade?
Yeah, I mean,
Were you?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I've said this before. If if the Mavs are going to trade Luka, that's one thing. Just get a better deal. No disrespect to Anthony Davis, but get 3. If I still firmly believe if we had gotten 4 unprotected number ones and Anthony Davis and Max Christie, this would be a different conversation.
Would you ever have traded Luka Doncic?
I'm not going to go there. It doesn't even matter.
I mean, I saw you were at the game though in LA,
Yeah.
and I mean that signifies. And I think you dapped up his dad and
Sasha.
So there's some sort of.
Well, there was a connection just
There's
because we
connection.
traded. I can still talk to Steve Nash. I mean, I went through this before when Steve Nash left and then won 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
Right. The good news is that we went to the finals and won a championship. So I've been through something, but there wasn't social media back then, so it wasn't quite the same. But yeah, I mean, you're going to make mistakes, and I think the biggest challenge that the Mavs have right now is there's nobody who's really outgoing to communicate. And it's not so much what you do, it's how you communicate why you do what you do. What makes sports different than every other industry, Google has, Texas Instruments has a record quarter. Nobody throws a parade. And when you win, if fans are passionate enough to show up in 100-degree weather and line the streets, then you've got to expect when things don't go the way they want, they're going to be just as passionate in response.
That is not something I would want to hear if I was a Mavs fan from Mark Cuban. Last night, at one point in the game, Lakers-Knicks game,
Mm-hmm.
I thought to myself, when will just NBA fans, anytime they see Luka in a Lakers uniform or any uniform, not think to themselves, Nico Harrison's an idiot?
It's actually exactly what I want to hear from Mark Cuban if I was a Mavs fan. Just honesty.
I meant like you don't want to hear that because you are then like regretting and mad that Mark Cuban sold, and then it goes back to the whole Nico Harrison thing, and then trading Luka, and you're like, what the hell?
You can't put it back in the bottle, so to speak.
Right.
I mean, everyone's mad about the trade. It doesn't take Mark Cuban being mad about the trade for the Mavs fan base to be like, man, now I'm really mad about the trade. What I like about it, where it's relatable, because the Mavs ownership and GM currently haven't been, or their head coach, is he actually admits like, yeah, I don't like it. My son doesn't like it. I'm like you. As opposed to the organization, which is like puffing his chest out, like we'll be better long-term for this trade. That's what they said immediately after the trade. And nobody really buys that. And it looks worse by the day, obviously. And we're just getting started in the days. Like Luka's going to be on the Lakers for a long time, and the Mavs will never have him again.
Luka hit a 3 last night over, I think,
in a 2-point game
Anthony
from
Towns.
the left wing.
Yeah.
It's a huge shot. Yeah.
And I immediately on Twitter saw Nico Harrison's an idiot. I can't believe Nico Harrison traded Luka. What the hell was Nico Harrison thinking?
That's going to happen for forever.
There is, I think, no going back from this. If you're Nico Harrison, you're going to get fired soon, as you should, because that trade in the moment and today, the feeling about it has not changed one bit. And it's only gotten worse. And yes, you can't predict injuries and you can't predict all that, right? You couldn't have predicted AD getting injured again or Kyrie tearing his ACL. But now that those things have happened, you lost. You lost a trade. You're not getting what you wanted, and it happened very quickly, like literally almost overnight.
I actually wouldn't fire him, because if I'm the ownership group that allowed him to make this deal, I mean, you already made the deal. I mean, you are not changing your general manager changes nothing.
Go down with the ship.
It changes nothing. And if you fire your GM, you're saying that he shouldn't have made that trade, but he made it with you signed off on it. General managers don't trade Luka Doncic without going through their ownership group. That's not possible. So he got the approval to do it. And if they do change GMs, that doesn't make Dallas all of a sudden a favorite to go win the West in the next 2 years.
Well, I just think that
it's a bad trade.
Basketball gods have spoken, and it is. I think it would take a miracle for the Mavericks to win a title and to justify this trade.
Now, the one thing I am curious about is, like, do the Lakers fully capitalize on like Luka, LeBron together? Like, are they going to win it or not? And obviously, it's either for that duo, it's going to have to happen in a short period of time. Maybe it happens right now. Maybe they do. I'm curious, because last year Luka was in the finals and it didn't go well. It's a lot different, I would think, with the Lakers. I mean, are they going to get there this year with Luka and LeBron?
They're the 2 seed in the West. They've been playing fantastic baseball for the last 2 months.
They've been playing great baseball, man.
Did I say baseball?
Yeah, they're just left side of that infield right now. Can't get anything.
They've been playing great basketball the last 2 months. They are, I think, 12-2 with Luka.
12-2 with Luka.
Him and LeBron have meshed perfectly. Fits like a glove. And being the 2 seed in the West right now, yeah, they have a legitimate shot.
They do
to win the title. Like, legitimate shot. They are definitely in the title contender picture.
Absolutely. No, I agree. All right. On the other side, we mentioned yesterday, Shohei Ohtani, he's been shut down from his throwing program. Today, we get a different reaction on Shohei Ohtani from Barry Bonds, actually related to pitching for Ohtani as well. We're going to hear from Barry Bonds, who's chimed in on Shohei Ohtani. Kevin Acee will join us at 4 p.m. We're here until 6. We'll have Ted Lightner, Uncle Teddy, join us coming up at 5 p.m. as well, getting set to call his final Aztec regular season game tomorrow night at Viejas Arena. This is Jon and Jim. right, Kevin Acee from Peoria. Maybe you have a question for Kevin. 70470.
No, I'll just let you take it.
No, not you. I mean, like our listeners.
Oh, they're talking about me.
No. You have a question for him, probably. And Teddy Lightner, Uncle Teddy, will join us coming up at 5 p.m., getting set to call tomorrow night at Viejas Arena, San Diego State, Nevada. This huge senior night showdown at Viejas tomorrow at 7:30. Our pregame coverage will begin at 6:30. I don't know if I was expecting to hear from Barry Bonds and his thoughts on Shohei Ohtani, but here we are.
You know, Barry Bonds has a new podcast now.
Oh man, that's so cool. Is there anyone else that has a podcast that's like a former athlete in sports?
Maybe a couple.
Maybe this will cut through and resonate.
Maybe.
What's it called? It's on YouTube, obviously.
It's called All the Smoke. Oh wait, no, sorry. He's on. No, this is not his
Someone
podcast.
else's, right?
He was on this Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes All the Smoke podcast.
Oh.
I read somewhere he started his own podcast, but no, he was on All the Smoke podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes.
Well, hold on. Before we play it, I want to know how many views this has. 77,000 views on YouTube. Barry Bonds goes on this.
It's a popular podcast.
Yeah, that's not bad. Now they put up a separate video, the Untold Barry Bonds Michael Jordan story, 2,000 views. All right, let's hear from Barry Bonds on Shohei Ohtani and react.
But Ohtani, dude, the boy can play. There's no question about who he is. The pitching and hitting has been outstanding for what he's done in base running and stuff like that. He's a complete player. I mean, there's no doubt about the type of player he is and what he's accomplished in his career. The game has just changed. Okay. I mean, the game is way different than it is than when I played. The same way Michael talks about it or anyone else. Ohtani is not going to hit 2 home runs without seeing one go right here. In my generation, I don't care what he does. He's not going to steal 2 bases without somebody decapitating his kneecap and slow him down, because it's a different game back then. Today's game, they take batting practice all day. They take batting practice at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up. These guys hit more than I've ever seen in my entire lifetime that we didn't do. They should be better than us as hitting wise, because they can hit a home run, flip their bat up in the air, run around, get a taco, come back down, have a limo, drive them around, all these antics that we weren't allowed to do. If I did anything like that, there's no way I'm going to see a star.
Wow.
I'll see the hospital, but I ain't going to see baseball that day.
That's the unwritten stuff, though.
And so as a hitter, we had to hit in a way to where if I hit a home run, I know what's coming in next at bat or possibilities. So my thing is I have to be a little more defensive and be more of a contact hitter to get out of a problem than they can just do and hit. And sometimes I think it could be a disadvantage, but Ohtani, dude, the boy can play. There's no question about who he is. My opinion, I just hope he just stays at the hitting category, because his hitting ability is off the chart. Pitching, I just think might tire him out. I think he should come out of the bullpen here and there, like he has these, because he's DHing, he can come out of the bullpen and throw an inning or 2 here, and just because he's so good as a reliever too. Like he could be one of the dominant relievers and dominant starters. I think as a starter, man, I think it might get wear and tear a little bit and tire him out. Why fix something that isn't broken? Because
that's definitely not
that's
broken.
like, I'd be like, no. I ain't fixing nothing, broke. This is good. I'm good. Peace. This is great. But I think coming out of the bullpen, he could really dominate.
Why does this make you laugh?
Well, it was who's the co-host or who's hosting?
Steven Jackson.
Yeah, he was saying a lot. So that was funny. And also this, I'd like to see him concentrate on hitting. I think he could really be a great hitter. He already is. He's been a great hitter while pitching as well. And coming out of the bullpen, I don't think would make his job easier, because there's less it's out of routine. The one thing with starting pitching is you're going to pitch every Sunday, for example. If you're coming out of the bullpen, all of a sudden you're just available on a Tuesday, and then you might be unavailable. I just think it's actually harder to come out of the bullpen and start and know every Sunday I'm going to be penciled in to start. Therefore, I'm not going to DH the day before or whatever it is.
What type of contract do you think Bonds would have gotten in today's game?
I mean, everything that anyone's ever gotten other than Ohtani.
So more
because he didn't pitch. No, he wouldn't have gotten more than Ohtani. He doesn't pitch.
What about the Soto deal?
The Soto deal's more than Ohtani?
Well, yeah.
Soto's deal is more than Ohtani? How much did he get?
It's upwards of
but per year it's not.
Not per year, but total contract is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the price goes up for anyone. I mean, he would have gotten one of the rich. It depends. I mean, which Bonds were we getting Pittsburgh Bonds because it's a different world and you can't do what he was doing, or we getting San Francisco Bonds? Both were great players, but different skill sets.
Probably a combination of both.
You know, I mean, he was much more of a runner and a hit for average guy in Pittsburgh than he was a everything in San Francisco.
Yeah. Do you think, because I already see the chat on YouTube, do you think Bond should be a Hall of Famer? Should have been a Hall of Famer?
Should have been. Well, he still could, right? Because like Pete Rose could go in now, potentially.
Oh, from like a special committee?
Yeah, he still could. It's never over. Do I think he should be a Hall of Famer? I think it's a great question. I think that considering who else is in the Hall of Fame, it's like it's not really a judger of character. So yeah, I'd put him in because there's other people that have probably character issues in there. There's other people that have, used steroids that are in there. I'm sure. I'm positive there's those that have used that are in.
Pudge Rodriguez.
Yeah, I mean, so we know that. So yeah, I'd put him in.
Piazza.
But I think it's part of the story. I mean, I think we'd be lying if we said that's not part of the story. Like you can't tell the full Barry Bonds story without telling Balco cream clear steroid era. That's a huge part of the story, as is his brilliance. But his legacy is directly tied to the steroid era.
Yeah,
there's no way to escape it.
A lot of players,
McGwire, Sosa, yep.
Which baseball turned a blind eye towards.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely responsible for some of it. There's no doubt about it. I don't disagree with that.
Bond should 100% be a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best players to ever play the game. If you watch Bonds and you're so upset about his steroids, well then okay, but even without that, he was still one of the best players ever.
He would have been. I mean, if he never took, that's the shame of it. He could have never taken it and been a Hall of Famer.
Now, I won't ask Uncle Teddy about Barry Bonds because we know Ted's thoughts on steroids. He's very against it.
I mean, it's not just the steroids; it's the way it played out. Right? He was a huge denier throughout the Balco days. Was he not?
But this wasn't a lone wolf situation.
No, it wasn't. But sometimes it's like, what is it? The cover-up's worse than the crime.
Yeah.
When these players weren't truthful about involvement. Alex Rodriguez, Barry Bonds.
You also have people in the Hall of Fame that like
abusers.
Like literally committed crimes.
No, it's true. I mean, I remember because I remember Bonds in Pittsburgh very well. I'm 10 years old. I'm 11 years old. I'm 12 years old. This is the heyday of my baseball. Barry Bonds in Pittsburgh was a brilliant player, but he was a completely different player than the player he was in San Francisco.
Bonds at the plate to this day, best hitter I've ever watched.
I mean, yeah, he was the most feared hitter I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, not even close. I mean,
he didn't even get a chance to hit like the last 5 years of his career because nobody would pitch to him.
Yeah, the way that Bonds was treated on the field. I mean, Shohei this past year, like at one point, you're like, this dude, you're not going to get him out.
Right.
Maybe that's like the closest I've seen to a guy where it's like, this is ridiculous what we're watching. But Bonds, best player I ever watched.
He was a brilliant player. I will never deny that. It's just some of the story is like how it played out.
Say what you want about Bonds. That's fine. I don't know about you. Me personally, I love hearing Barry talk about hitting. Like, have you seen the clips of Bonds and Greg Maddux talking about their matchups together?
Yeah, maybe.
Where Maddux was talking about how he would try to get Bonds out, and then the psychological battle that he was trying to play against Barry, and then Barry would talk about what he thought was coming and what he was looking for, and I just found that all to be so fascinating to listen to. I could listen to that for an hour straight.
Yeah, I mean, the shame of it is the shame of it, because if in a different world without steroids, he goes down as the greatest player maybe in the history of the sport, but there's an asterisk. I mean, it's not me saying that, it's baseball saying that. It's sports fans.
I'm just
saying that.
For me, it doesn't, I mean, yeah, is it bad? Of course it is, but it doesn't bother.
He's not the only.
It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers a lot of people out there.
It's not about bothered. Yeah, I don't know. We'll talk to Kevin Acee on the other side. Not about that. We'll talk about the Padres in Peoria. They haven't won since last Wednesday, but Kevin Acee will join us from Peoria on the other side. Uncle Teddy, Ted Lightner on the show at 5 p.m. Hour 3, Jon and Jim next.
This update is brought to you by the San Diego Seals. Breaking news in the NFL. The Seahawks are trading quarterback Geno Smith to the Las Vegas Raiders for a third-round pick. Moving over to the Aztecs, they're taking on Nevada tomorrow night for senior night, 7:30 tip, 6:30 pregame. Listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. And San Diego Football Club takes on Salt Lake tomorrow night without Chucky Lozano. 6:30 start time. You can listen to that game on our sister station tomorrow night on Jammin' 95.7 FM. Friday Night Lights, box lacrosse style, Friday, March 7th at 7:30 p.m. The Seals take on Vancouver Warriors for Stick Up for a Cure Night. Don't miss the action. Plus, the first 2,000 fans grab a Seals beach towel. Tickets at sealslax.com.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
Oh, we're only like a day and a half away from this Aztec game. And I'm like, oh, Jim's going to be there.
Yeah. It's okay,
That's
John.
all. What's okay?
That I will be there.
I'm going to trust you on this one.
Don't worry. I got this, dude. We got this. It's in the bag. And if it's not, then I don't know if I can show my face on Monday.
I don't even want to get into that right now.
No, seriously. Let's walk
Yeah.
through it. If by some chance they lose tomorrow night,
Right.
while I am there, are you going to allow me back on the show on Monday? Or
Yeah,
how's
I
this
mean, I
gonna
don't
work?
really have a choice.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego, Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. And we'll kick it off with Kevin Acee, our Padres insider in Peoria, where the Padres have not won in a while. Now, they didn't lose today because they didn't officially play today because of rain. So they'll try to pick up a win for the first time since last Wednesday when they play tomorrow. But Kevin, we appreciate you hopping back on. We saw your really good piece earlier today on Martin Maldonado and the Padres catching situation heading into 2025. I guess 3 weeks out now from opening day, or a little less, 20 days out from opening day. What would your expectation be in terms of the two catchers that they take with them to the regular season?
And if I had to guess, it's Elias Diaz and Martin Maldonado. But I got to tell you, like, my level of confidence, I mean, I wrote the story and I emphasized Maldonado's defense and gave the reasons why he is in this race, despite, whatever he is, 0 for 9 this spring, and that being indicative of what his past few years in the majors have been like. I wrote that because of things I'm hearing and things I'm seeing, but like no one has said that it's those two guys or that Luis Campusano is going back to AAA. But I do believe that Mike Schilt, in particular, as the manager of this team, really values what Maldonado would bring.
And then when you look at, offensively, you wrote, like, can they live with a guy hitting potentially 190 with a 600 OPS? You said, yeah, probably. But, that's like on the high end, I feel like, with Maldonado. Because, last year, dude hit closer to 100 than 200.
Yep.
And if that's something that they're okay with, well, they're then banking on to have him actually be somewhat competent on offense when it hasn't been a while since he's been that.
Right. And I think you're being generous, right, to say somewhat competent at 191 or 200 or 205 or whatever it is. That's not something that at any other position that you'd be okay with at all. So, but it is catcher, and you're right. And I think that's what it hinges on. Look, I'm not a scout or a coach. Talk to a lot of them. He doesn't look good this spring, but man, he looks good on defense, and what he brings to when you talk to pitchers and then when you watch and you talk to people about his catching, his throwing, he just brings so much that it's too much to not at least consider.
It's interesting. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider. Yeah, I think there's a reason they brought him in. Obviously, a lengthy, successful major league career, primarily, defensively as a backstop as opposed to with his bat. All right, so again, 20 days out. How is this fifth starter race, I guess, shaping out at this point?
I like Kyle Hart a lot. They're not going to give up on Randy Vasquez, and they're not going to give up on Matt Waldron. I'm not saying they have reason to, but I mean, they Randy hasn't had a great spring, right? I believe he's throwing scheduled 4 innings, and I imagine it will be 4 innings since it's like a sim game. So that means they can make it 4 innings because they can pull him in at any time in any of those innings. So 4 ups for him tomorrow. Stephen Kolek will have 2 innings. And he's looked real good, but maybe that's more of a project for him. I kind of been saying that all along, that's how it started, and we'll see where it goes. The fact that he's only going 2 raised my eyebrows. We'll see. But Hart looked good today, from what I understand. I'm stuck here at the UT Peoria house writing, because it's getting that time of year where season preview stuff is due and all that. So Jeff Sanders was there, but it got rained out, of course, after Kyle Hart's 2 innings.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to go 3. It's still up in the air, is I guess what I'm saying. But I think Johnny Brito's out, and Randy Vasquez better look good tomorrow.
Well, there you go. Kevin saying they better look good. Tirso Ornelas. Tirso Ornelas is a guy that's had a really good spring training.
Yeah.
And he's obviously vying for one of these spots. The chances now of him making the club, what percentage would you put that at?
Percentage, I don't know. 70, I mean, maybe higher. He's on the 40-man roster. He's looked good. People are high on him. He's a left-handed bat off the bench. Who, what is Stephen Wade? Or I'm sorry, why did I say that? Tyler Wade.
Yeah.
Is that your other option, left-handed option off the bench? So I think that Tirso has a really good chance. Brandon Lockwood just looked really good. Right-handed bat, center fielder, actually could play all 3 positions, but in the outfield, and it gives you speed and real awareness on the base paths and really good defense. Now, how much is he needed out there? He needs to play some left, I guess, in spring, because the only place that he would really be needed, right, is in left. So I like Tirso's chances.
Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. So we talked about Jose Iglesias, I think, 2 days ago, but I think it was yesterday in camp where he had some comments publicly, and I don't think he meant it like as an ultimatum, but along the lines in his answer was something about him not being a minor leaguer, right? And I think he felt that way 2 years ago when he was a Padres farmhand. He certainly feels that way now, coming off the year he had. Would your expectation be that, and I know he's got the opt-outs, right, if he starts the year in the minor leagues, but would you expect it like he either makes the club out of camp or he's kind of cut? Like, does he have to make this club out of camp based on what he said yesterday?
Well, it's going to be, I think that's more like attitude thing, right?
Okay.
Like, gosh, he better feel like that if he's in major league camp. So I thought it was a great quote, and I'm kind of with you on kind of like, hey, cool. Like, I think that's what I'm interpreting where you're at. Yep. Like, right on. But he may assess, and his agent may assess, there's not anything more for him out there. And the Padres will obviously talk to both of those men, Dan Lozano and Jose Iglesias, about like what the situation is, and it'll weigh into their decisions. If it's like a close thing, oh gosh, we should put him on, but we've got these options and all that. So he can also opt out on May 1st and June 1st. Pretty much guarantee you he won't be here past June 1st.
Sure.
I think he makes the club out of spring. I do. Now that's me not having seen him swing a bat or anything. That's based on who he was last year, what the Padres are believing he can give them. I would say that he's going to be on the roster. I'm not sure how that all shakes out if he's on the roster, because someone who you thought was going to be on there as an infielder has to go. But look, I think the Padres agree with him that he's not a minor leaguer.
And this kind of speaks to like the strategy that AJ has to take now. Mm-hmm. That it's a bunch of flyers and hopefully something stick. It's like throwing pasta against the wall and hopefully something sticks on the wall. It's like, you have all these like Yuli Gurriel, Gavin Sheets, Hayward, Iglesias, name them. Like you got like essentially 9 guys, a lot of them on minor league deals, and Preller's just hoping a couple of them stick, right?
Yes. Now I want to make sure that I say, I'm very aware of your overall sentiment on that when you say throw against the wall, because I don't think you meant that necessarily, but I can tell you how AJ Preller would have taken that.
Right. Okay.
He's not throwing things against the wall. This is he and his group, and they scout, and they know, and they believe that all these guys can play. The truth is somewhere in the middle. Uh-huh. So, but to your point, which I believe it's valid, that yes, needs to hit on a few of these guys. No one can expect, maybe AJ Preller can, believes very highly in himself, as he should. No one can expect they're going to hit like they did last year. Jurickson Profar, Donovan Solano, David Peralta at the top. But yeah, that's kind of how it has to be right now for to fit in the payroll, what they need, and the expectations that they and the outside world, being the paying customer, has of them this year.
Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. So we saw DeVries and Salas option to minor league camp, which was always the expectation for these young players. How did their time go? What would the front office say, or Mike Schilt, what has he said about their time in camp this year?
Obviously, they're saying that it was, very impressive. And they're saying two things, right? Very impressive. Remember, they're 18 years old. And then they're saying, but we expect them to be here soon, and it doesn't matter that they're 18. Look, this for Leo DeVries was like Jackson Merrill's camp 2 years ago, right? Like, it was to come there and be with the major leaguers and see what the clubhouse is like, what a major leaguer acts like, and what the pace of the game is. And, he has some really good moments. Did he have Tatis moments? Did he have Merrill moments like those guys had in their first springs? But he had good moments. Ethan Salas, I think there was a lot of talk about them liking adjustments he'd made at the plate. And then obviously his catching. I mean, if the guy's bat was up to speed and he was a year older, he'd be on this team. All right. So I think that it was a success, but I think we were going to call it a success anyway because of where these guys are at. The big deal is because they were talking almost in certain terms that 2026 was the time for these guys. So it is huge what happens with these guys in their development and their results this year.
And Salas, the expectation is we'll start the year potentially in Double-A, and DeVries would start in Fort Wayne, Single-A?
I haven't got a read on DeVries. It's a really good question. I just have had other things, but I should have, because it's been on my mind to ask guys. That's an interesting thing. I would think they're not going to. What they're going to do is put him at Fort Wayne with the idea to fast track him, but they're not going to jump Fort Wayne.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would think as well. Kevin, appreciate it. Stay dry. What's the weather this weekend? Supposed to be decent or no?
Supposed to be good, and then rain again on Tuesday. So you Darvish get to go tomorrow, and like I said, Vasquez and Kolek.
Okay. Well, they need a win, Kevin. Yeah. I don't know if they really do, actually. I don't think they need a win, but whatever.
I wish we'd talked about that, because I've spent a lot of time the last couple of days talking to guys about spring training, because they've got some guys that, if you look at the stats, just aren't doing well. And then obviously the 38 losses in a row. But we didn't have time to talk about that. We can talk about it on Monday, regardless, win or lose over the weekend.
Right. And the adage, you can't win the Cactus League March 7th, but you sure can lose it. And I think they've already lost it by March 7th.
Too. Yeah, it's not
Kevin, we'll catch up.
That is the old adage.
We'll catch up Monday. Thank you.
See ya.
All right, we'll react to that on the other side, plus get to the wrap. And Chris Hodge from Taking Vegas, more free picks for our listeners. He's been red hot with his free picks here on Jon and Jim. Stay with us. All right, keep up with San Diego Sports 760 anytime, anywhere, whether you're stepping out of the car or settling in at home. Just ask your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or stream it live through the iHeartRadio app. It's never been easier to stay connected with your favorite shows like this one. This one. San Diego Sports 760 goes where you go. If we ever rename the show, what do you think about going with this one?
I like it.
You like that? You do. You just said it.
What was the name we were going to name this show before?
It was like Curveball. The Curveball Show. Or like the Grand Salami.
The Grand Slam.
Right? I wish I knew what it was.
We were trying to think of something baseball.
It was like High and Tight.
That's actually like a show on MLB Network, I think.
Oh, no. It was like High Heat.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's what it was called.
No, it was
we were going to go with the Howard Stern Show.
Like the On Deck Circle.
Yeah, maybe.
Like the Batter's Box.
Or ABS.
And they were like, why not just Jon Jim? Like it.
Boom. And look at the rest is history.
The rest is definitely history.
Chris Hodge taking Vegas 4:30. Uncle Teddy. Ted Lightner at 5 p.m. getting set to call his final game in the regular season at Viejas Arena. You can hear it tomorrow night at 7:30 right here on San Diego Sports 760. Download the app, listen to Ted tomorrow night, and put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets. All right, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Is Saturday a must-win game for San Diego FC?
Seriously?
Did we actually ask that earlier this week?
No, you kept on asking is tomorrow night a must-win for the Aztecs.
Well, you can answer either way you want. You could ask.
It's the third game of their season.
There's only 31 more after this.
It's the third game of their existence as a franchise.
So you're cool with them going to Salt Lake and getting smoked?
Well, what they have not given up a goal yet, so the likelihood of them giving up a goal tomorrow night probably very high.
Is this going to happen?
And it's going to happen at least one time this year. They're going to give up a goal. You think?
Debbie Downer over here.
No Chucky Lozano for the foreseeable future. Not a must-win game.
Okay, that's the answer. So you say no. I say it's not a must-win game, but I want a point. I want a result. I want a point out of that tomorrow night in Salt Lake.
5 points.
Cold?
5 points in their first three matches would be a pretty good start.
Salt Lake weather. Tomorrow, it's going to be cold. High of 45. Tonight, it's going to be 30 degrees.
Okay.
Next question.
What's more likely, San Diego State or UCSD make the tournament?
This is where you speak.
I'm thinking. How about both?
Do you think, okay, what's most likely? Both in, one out, or neither in? And if it's one in, one out, which team is more likely to make it over the other?
San Diego State.
I agree with that. The only thing working in UCSD, not the only thing, UCSD's had this great year. They won the regular season title last night in the Big West, or at least a share of it. The thing that works in UCSD's advantage is they automatically advance to the semifinals of the Big West tournament.
Right.
So they get that bye to the semis. They only have to win 2 games in Las Vegas area. They're in Henderson, Nevada, to win the Big West. So, I mean, they got a decent shot of winning the Big West outright in the tournament because they just have to win 2 games.
Yep, and then they clinch on that berth.
Exactly, where San Diego State would have to win 3. But I'm with you. From a resume perspective right now, San Diego State does have the better resume. And I'm with you. I think there's still a pretty good chance that both teams can make the NCAA tournament.
I do too.
Next question.
Will Bronny ever be a starter in the NBA?
Prolonged or for a game?
For like prolonged.
Okay. Like there's like a game he could be.
Like a legitimate starting NBA player.
I would be surprised.
My answer to that is no. He could be a role player.
Mm-hmm.
But how good of a role player? I don't know. It's gonna take a while. I think he's one of those guys that like when he's like 26, he might average like 6 points a game.
That's a while from now.
I know, but in the right now, no shots. I mean, he played I think 15 minutes the other night against the Pistons and went scoreless and was awful.
Do you think in the Western Conference Finals they would put him into the starting lineup to switch things up against OKC?
Give him like
39
minutes on the court, so he can have some pictures of himself out there in the NBA Finals with the NBA logo on his back, on his jersey.
Not to start. No, he's not going to start for a while in the NBA.
Maybe never.
Yeah, hopefully he sticks around in the NBA.
Well, if his dad has anything to say about it.
Next question.
His daddy says he has to stay in the NBA.
Next question.
Are the Raiders a playoff team now with Geno Smith?
This just happened moments ago. Geno Smith traded to the Raiders for a 3rd-round pick, reunited with Pete Carroll. AFC is so tough; it's hard to say. They're going to be, I think they're going to be competitive next year. I don't know if they can win 10, 11, 12 games, but they'll be competitive and they'll be better off. And there's still a chance. I mean, they have a top 10 pick that they could draft a quarterback and have him sit behind Geno for a year. Like, you could draft Shador and have him sit. Now, again, we're talking about dads getting involved. Like, you think Deion Sanders would be outspoken if someone drafted his baby boy Shador and had him sit for a year? Of course he would.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. I like the Geno Smith Las Vegas reunion here. He's had nice years, but it might be wishful to put them in the postseason. Like, he could have a nice year.
Yeah.
They could be better than they've been. It still might be a little bit of time overall in Las Vegas.
Brock Bowers, amazing tight end.
Player. Yeah, he is.
You have Geno back with Pete Carroll. I think that pairing is going to be good.
Yep.
This to me feels like a stopgap instead of a long-term solution.
Definitely.
And especially if they draft a quarterback in the first round, if they get lucky enough to draft one, like a quarterback falls to them.
But like, what's a good year? I mean, they were 4-13 last year. I mean, they get to 8-9 wins. That's a great year, and that's probably not enough.
But also, it's. I don't think it's enough. But Geno's, like, to me, the perfect stopgap quarterback. He's the perfect guy to have as part of like a transition. Maybe they view him in a different light. Maybe they do view him as a long-term solution.
I don't know. He's 34, but maybe a couple of years. I mean, certainly 2025. Would 2026 be guaranteed off a 3rd-round pick? Probably not guaranteed.
Well, he's going into his final year of his deal.
Okay.
So they would need to give him a new contract.
Right.
So
I think it's a stopgap.
That's why I say you bring him in, draft a quarterback, have that quarterback sit. Geno's that bridge, and then you have the quarterback that you drafted this year. You know, because if you do win 7, 8, 9 games, you're not getting a top 10 pick.
Good point.
And you might, but the likelihood of you getting even the top 4 pick, like, that's not happening.
That's probably the strategy, though. You bring him in for a year and then see where you are come 2026. All right, Chris Hodge, he's been red hot with his free picks over the last, I don't even know, couple of months. 18-4 over his last 22 free picks for our listeners. Chris Hodge, friend of the show, taking Vegas. We'll have free picks for us coming up next.
This update's brought to you by the San Diego Seals. Breaking news in the NFL moments ago. The Seahawks traded quarterback Geno Smith to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 3rd-round pick. San Diego State takes on Nevada tomorrow night at Viejas Arena for senior night, 7:30 tip, 6:30 pregame. Listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. And San Diego Football Club takes on Salt Lake tomorrow night without Chucky Lozano, 6:30 start time. You can listen to that game on our sister station, Jammin' 95.7 FM. Friday Night Lights, box lacrosse style. Tonight at 7:30, the Seals take on the Vancouver Warriors for Stick Up for a Cure night. Don't miss the action. Plus, the first 2,000 fans grab a Seals beach towel. Tickets at sealslax.com.
All right, let's get Chris Hodge taking Vegas back in here. This is an amazing time of year for sports fans. Conference tournaments, we got NBA, we're approaching March Madness, and Chris has been red hot for our listeners. So we had him on last Friday, and the free play off the text line was the over for Purdue UCLA, that Friday night game in college hoops, and that hit, and he's now 18-4 in his last 22 free picks for our listeners. You heard that right. Yeah, it is. 18-4, and he's back with us right now, and we'll have another free pick on that text line tonight in the NBA. So, Chris, thanks for hopping back on. We'll talk some college hoops, but what do you have for our listeners here off your text line tonight? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. But first off, I hate saying this because it sounds so bad, but an 18-4 run, I actually hate it because no one believes it. And remember, a couple years ago, I went on that run on Thursday nights where we won like the first 9 straight Thursday night NFL games. No one believed it.
Right.
So sometimes you go on an 18-4 run, you're happy that people are making money, but for the people who aren't involved, they're like, oh, this guy again, he's full of it. But you guys know,
we know
this is what we do.
Yep.
So if you text the word win to the number 545454, we have Phoenix and Denver tonight. A little bit of a switch over to the NBA. We've been on college hoops, but over to the NBA for tonight. Give you a free game there. So text the word win to the number 545454. Not only will you receive that game tonight, you will receive our top college basketball play tomorrow, which we're very excited about. So it'll be 2-0 for free, and we hope to keep it going for you guys.
Love it. Sticking with college hoops here, Chris. Arizona and Kansas. What do you got in that one for our listeners?
You know, man, this is crazy. And I don't know how you guys feel about this because I've been watching TV, and everyone says Kansas is a lock to make this tournament. And I don't see it. Am I crazy? Do you guys agree or disagree with that?
I think you might be crazy. You Kansas for the NCAA? I know they've really fallen on hard times, but they're going to be in, right?
So here's the thing, right? So they started the season 7-0. All right. They're 19-11.
Right.
So that means they're 12-11 in their last 23 games. Okay. Furthermore, since they beat Duke, and Duke might be the game that gets them in, because first of all, if they played Duke now, Duke would beat them by 100. But that might be the game that ultimately gets them in. But since that win, they've had one win. If you look at Ken Pomeroy's rankings, they've had one win, and that was against Iowa State for a team that was ranked higher than number 53 in his rankings. One win in 2.5 to 3 months. So right now, this team is struggling. So if they don't show up and win tomorrow, because I believe tomorrow is a must-win game for them. I don't believe they're a lock to get in. I think they got to show up tomorrow and win. They play good defense at home. They are one of the top defensive teams in the country. And Arizona's already locked into a top 4 seed in the Big 12 tournament. They can't move up. They're going to be either 2 or 3 no matter what happens. Okay? Win or lose. They're in a tie right now with Texas Tech. So they already have the bye. I believe Kansas is going to be desperate as all heck tomorrow. So laying 2.5, I think it's close early, and then Kansas just pulls away late because I don't think they have any choice. I think they have to win tomorrow. They lose tomorrow, and they lose in the first round of the Big 12 championship or conference. I believe Kansas has problems. So I think you get the best version of Kansas tomorrow. I think they show up. I know Arizona has Caleb Love, probably the best player on the court. But I think Kansas gets it done tomorrow. I think they have no choice. So I'll lay the 2.5 with them.
All right. So Kansas minus 2.5. That's a huge game, by the way, the only regular season meeting in the Big 12 between Arizona and Kansas. Now, a huge game in the Big East. What a year it's been for St. John's, obviously, in New York. Marquette has put together a pretty good year as well. So St. John's and Marquette tomorrow. What's your opinion here?
Yeah, this is fascinating. So St. John's has lost 4 games this year by a combined 7 points.
Wow.
Like they're that close
yep.
to being the undefeated basketball team. But there are some warts on St. John's. Most notably, they don't shoot free throws well, and they don't shoot the three ball well. Now, Patino is an all-time great coach, and they get after it on defense. But they've already locked up the number 1 seed in the Big East. They probably already locked up. I don't believe they can move up to a number 1 even if they win the Big East tournament. They probably already locked up a number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. So you really tomorrow, you're traveling on the road for the last regular season game with the Big East, conference title coming up, which they're going to be excited to play, as that's always played in their home arena of Madison Square Garden, off campus anyway. And Marquette opened at -1.5, and already Marquette is up to -2.5. Now, when they played the first time, okay, St. John's won the game by 6 at home and out-rebounded Marquette 50-28, which is an insane number. That is not going to happen again on Marquette's home court. It's just not going to happen again. They had a lot of second chance points. They had a lot of points in the paint. And I just don't think that's going to be available for St. John's. And look, human nature is this. I already got the number 1 seed locked up for the conference tournament. I already got a number 2 seed most likely locked up. We're on the road. We don't really need this game. There's nothing more we can do. Let's not get hurt. And Marquette's going to be desperate playing their last home game. So Marquette -2.5, we'll go with them. I think it's going to be a close game early. And then I just think, St. John's looks ahead to the conference tournament and Marquette pulls away at home.
Conference tournaments, conference tournaments are coming up here very shortly next week here. What do we got lined up here for the conference tournament here, Chris?
Let me tell you guys, and this is why you should come on board with us, because it is an insane amount of work. So this is true, man. We put the hours out on the desks of our employees today for next week. And when I tell you, if these guys had guns in the office, they would have shot me. Okay, the looks that we got with the amount of hours that we have to put in work, I'm literally talking about 10-hour days, 11-hour days of breaking down games, watching every game, making sure we're in tune to everything that's going on. That's what we do. So while the layperson out there that right now is probably on their way home from work, that is listening to me speak right now, you guys don't have the time to do this. That's what we do. That's why you employ us. So we're going to put all the time in, all the research. We put a lot of effort in. We've had a great college basketball season. But I will say this, as the owner of this company, okay, it does not matter that we've had a great college basketball season. If you don't win in the conference tournaments and the big dance, it does not matter. It's like having a great NFL season and then getting buried in the playoffs. All right? It doesn't matter. You got to win at this time of the year. So we put the work in, and I feel like we're going to have a very successful week with conference tournaments and on into the big dance.
All right. So again, if you want tonight's NBA play, and you'll get a free college play for tomorrow as well, all you have to do is text the word WIN, W-I-N, to 545454. That's WIN, W-I-N, to 545454. You'll get that pick free. And again, Chris Hodge is taking Vegas 18-4 over his last 22 free picks here on Jon and Jim. My final one, Chris, is about what happens for you and your team on Selection Sunday. Like, we see the bracket, and where do you go from there once that bracket is released a week from Sunday?
Well, we watch Selection Sunday in our office, and we start breaking down the games immediately. We get on it as fast as possible. Obviously, conference tournaments are different because these teams have played each other. All right, so a little easier, but not insanely easy. Big dance, man, that is a tough one. And we'll watch Selection Sunday from our office. And as soon as those brackets are announced in each region, man, we start breaking it down immediately. All right, you guys get on this, you guys get on that. And we try to come up with the 4 or 5 best first-round games to give our clients. It's a lot of work that goes into it. We've always had success at this time of the year. In fact, here's another run that no one will believe, but it indeed happened. Okay, and we talk about this on our radio show. Last year, we won our first 12 plays in the Big Dance.
Wow.
Okay, so we started the Big Dance last year 12-0. All right, that is a fact. Can't be disputed. Can't be denied. We talk about it on the radio show. Now, we ended the Big Dance 4-4. All right, so all total, we went 16-4. All right, but we started 12-0. So hopefully we get up to that run. And, we have, I don't know if we can duplicate 12-0. I'm not going to say we will. But hell, I'll take 9-3, and that's what we hope to do.
No doubt about it. Selection Sunday, 9 days away. Believe it or not, just 9 days away. Chris Hodge taking Vegas. If you want tonight, NBA pick, text win, text WIN to 545454. Again, text win to 545454. You'll get a college play for tomorrow as well. Chris, we will do it again soon. We appreciate it, and have a good weekend, my friend.
All right. Thank you guys for having me. You guys have a great day.
All right, great one from Chris Hodge at Taking Vegas. All right, call right now, Jim. Well, you don't call.
I wouldn't call, no.
Call right now. Is your voice okay?
No, it's not, John.
It feels like you've been sick for about 5 weeks.
I'm not sick. I don't know.
If you want a free 4-pack of tickets to the Shamrock Music and Beer Festival, and Jim won't be there. Okay, so it'll be a better experience. This isn't this Saturday. It'll be next Saturday.
The next Saturday.
Do you like free beer? Do you like free music?
Yes,
then
I
you'll
do.
love the Shamrock Music and Beer Festival, which is Saturday, March 15th in the Gaslamp from 2 to 10. Call 877-767-4760 if you want that free 4-pack of tickets. Now, the first 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. So you need to call right now for a chance to win a free 4-pack of tickets to the Shamrock Music and Beer Festival next Saturday in the Gaslamp from 2 to 10 p.m. So a great, great event coming up next Saturday in the Gaslamp. All you need to do is call 877-767-4760. That's 877-767-4760. Uncle Teddy, Ted Lightner, will join us at 5 p.m. We'll give away those Shamrock Music and Beer Festival tickets next on Jon and Jim. All right, don't go anywhere. Ted Lightner joins us at 5. His final regular season game on the mic for San Diego State will be tomorrow night at 7:30 with pregame coverage from outside Viejas at 6:30. If you want to listen to that game, you can do it right here on 760 or on the free iHeartRadio app. If you're not going to the game, turn your TV down, turn Ted up. Download the app, search for San Diego Sports 760, and put us in your presets. But Uncle Teddy will join us coming up at 5 p.m. What hard-hitting questions do you have for Ted?
Do you like broadcasting?
What are you having for dinner? There's a lot. I mean, we'll talk about this, his final season. And yeah, those things.
I think we could ask one question and get it.
And he'll go with it.
What's your most memorable moment in your broadcasting career?
Yeah, it'll be a good one.
When in your broadcasting career were you at your busiest? Like, how many different teams were you the main broadcaster for, the play-by-play man for at one time? Obviously this team, this year, this Aztec team. And we'll have other things as well.
Okay, that was great. All right,
what
so
about
Ted's coming up.
You?
No, those are same questions. Ted will join us at 5 p.m. If you missed our conversation, by the way, yesterday, Brian Dunseth, who played in Major League Soccer, will be commentating for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV tomorrow night for San Diego FC and Real Salt Lake. You'll hear that conversation coming up at 5:30. But again, Uncle Teddy will join us coming up in about 10 or so minutes. Right now, let's play.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Steve and Brandon. Steve, you called in first. You have your choice of Jon or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with Jim.
All right, Steve and Jim.
Brandon, that means you get Jon, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, Brent, what is the question of the day?
All right, guys, earlier we were talking about Barry Bonds and his thoughts on Shohei. Bonds, who everyone knows is the all-time home run leader. Besides Bonds, there have been 8 other players with at least 600 home runs in their career. Today's question, name any of those other 8 players with at least 600 or more home runs.
All right, I like it. Brandon, you're up first. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
600 home runs.
You have a lifeline.
Mark
McGwire.
600, Brett?
No, not 600. Steve, you're up next. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
How about Henry Aaron?
Henry Aaron on the list. Brandon, you're up. What's your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
600.
You have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth. There we go. Steve, back to you. What is your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
How about Barry's uncle, Willie Mays?
Willie Mays.
I like it.
On the list. Brandon, you're going to need this to stay in the game here. What is your final guess? You do have a lifeline, which is Jon, if you want to use it.
A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. There we go. Steve, you could win this here with a walk-off. You do have a lifeline, which is an easy layup here. What do you got?
Sammy Sosa.
Sammy for the win on the list. Wow. I would have said Ken Griffey.
I was not going to say Sammy Sosa.
Did you say Ken Griffey Jr.?
I would have said Ken Griffey Jr. Could have said Albert Pujols.
Is that everyone on the list? Or
I think that might be everybody, right?
No, you're missing one.
Hold on. Bonds, Hank, Babe Ruth, A-Rod.
No, Pujols is next.
I'm not doing it in order.
Okay.
A-Rod, Pujols, Griffey, Sosa,
Tomey.
Yep. Jim
Right.
Tomey.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
McGuire had 583. So
Yeah. I knew he was in the 580s.
That's 600, man.
Yeah. I don't think I would have gotten Tomey. That would have
the
stumped
latest.
me.
Okay. So here is what Steve has won because I think Steve is our winner, right?
Yes, Steve is our winner.
He's got Shamrock Music and Beer Festival tickets for next Saturday, March 15th, 2 to 10 in the Gas Lamp. Live music, Irish Fair, endless revelry. Heading back to its roots, this iconic celebration transforms the Gas Lamp into the Emerald Isle of the West Coast. So make sure to check it out. Again, the Shamrock Music and Beer Festival. Top Irish and Celtic rock bands, iconic tribute performances, Irish dancers galore, and all the lucky libations and shenanigans you can handle. Shamrock Music and Beer Festival. All right, Ted. We have a few minutes. Ted Lightner is going to join us coming up in 8 minutes as he gets ready for tomorrow night. We can touch on tomorrow night here briefly. So San Diego State. Let's get serious. Let's get down to brass taxes, Jim. San Diego State tomorrow needs to win. Their path to the NCAA tournament narrows significantly if they do not win tomorrow night. It is not impossible. Well, obviously they could win the Mountain West tournament, which would guarantee their entry into the tournament. Maybe they could win a couple of games and get to a Mountain West championship and still be an at-large consideration. But I don't know what the path realistically looks like if they don't win tomorrow. I think if they do win tomorrow, they have not locked themselves into the tournament, but they're going to feel a lot better about it if they do win tomorrow night.
You will be sweating bullets here if you lose tomorrow, and the pressure of having to win the Mountain West Conference tournament next week will be at an all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think that pressure will be there if they win tomorrow. It still obviously wouldn't feel great if they win tomorrow and then lose their opening round game,
right?
But you win tomorrow, you get a couple wins in the Mountain West Conference tournament, and if they get back to the Mountain West Conference tournament championship game, then I feel very good about their chances.
A lot of this for me also hinges on Magoon Guath's availability. And even if he is available, what does he look like after not playing for a couple of weeks? The other thing, like the league has been the last couple of years, the Mountain West is deep. And teams like Boise State and Colorado State, New Mexico and Utah State are all good. They've all had really nice years. Some of these teams have played really well down the stretch, including Boise State and Colorado State. So none of this is easy, including tomorrow night. Like there's nothing easy about a senior night. The emotions, the expectations. When you have a lot on the line and your opponent doesn't, that doesn't always go the way you want it to go, right? Like the other team's coming out loose. They can, pull no punches. If Nevada ends up losing by 30, okay. But if they put together this loose, free, relaxed game and play really well, like that could be problematic, obviously, for San Diego State tomorrow as well. So it's just a big game. I mean, it's as big as you're going to get before the conference tournament for San Diego State.
You think Dutch pregame is going to pull out a speech of, Jim Russell's in the house tonight, so put on your best show?
No.
Okay.
Now he might say, hey, listen, this is Ted's final regular season game.
Don't let him down.
Right.
This is Jim's first regular season game. Don't let him down.
Right, exactly. Like this is not Ted's first game. In fact, it's his. Who knows how many Aztec men's basketball games he's called if he's in 30 years. 30 times 30 is
thousands
900. So yeah, more probably around 1,000.
But I'm talking about like baseball, like thousands and thousands and thousands.
Thousands, dude. I mean, 162. He did 40 years. So what's the math on that? 1,600 every 10 years times that by 4, 32, 6,500 baseball games.
So probably close to like maybe
10,000 overall events.
Overall games.
60. Let's say 6,500 baseball. Let's say 1,000 men's basketball. That's 7,500. Football. Throw a few hundred on.
500.
8,000. There's so much Chargers Clippers in there.
Yep.
Throw on another and make it up 500.
Other stuff
plus,
that he did.
Other stuff 500 plus. You're pushing 10,000.
10,000.
They say 10,000 hour theory. But 10,000 games is a lot more than 10,000 hours.
Right.
All right. Ted Lightner, Uncle Teddy, getting ready for his final call in a regular season at Viejas Arena. He will join us on the other side to kick off hour 4 of Jon and Jim. That's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by the San Diego Seals. We'll start with the NFL breaking news today. The Seahawks, they traded quarterback Geno Smith to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 3rd-round pick. San Diego State, senior night tomorrow night as they take on Nevada, 7:30 tip time, 6:30 pregame. Listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. And San Diego Football Club takes on Salt Lake tomorrow, 6:30 start time. You can listen to that game on our sister station, Jammin' 95.7 FM. Friday Night Lights, box lacrosse style. Friday, March 7th, which is tonight at 7:30 p.m. The Seals take on the Vancouver Warriors for a Stick Up to a Cure night. Don't miss the action. Plus, the first 2,000 fans grab a Seals beach towel. Tickets at sealslax.com.
The Aztecs finish up the regular season at Viejas Arena against the Nevada Wolfpack tomorrow with the Mountain West tournament next week and a spot in the dance. Plus, it's Game 3 for SDFC out in Utah. And how can the Padres get right out in Arizona? We'll talk about it all with Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of Jon and Jim. We are roughly 24 hours out. San Diego State tomorrow night against the University of Nevada. It is senior night. Tomorrow night for the Aztecs at Viejas Arena, which will be Ted Lightner's final regular season game at Viejas, calling Aztecs men's basketball, which I'm sure for Ted is hard to believe. So, Ted, you're back with us here. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night. This, first of all, thank you for doing it. And secondly, has this final year flown by that we're at this point, and this is such a meaningful game? Has this thing flown by? And thanks for joining us.
I appreciate the invitation. And Jon, the answer is yeah. And I was hoping it would not fly by, but it's flown by. On the other hand, having started, with Aztec basketball, where records like that, 20-8, you would have killed for, would have been wonderful. And many, many, many of those years that were, really lean, bad, and couldn't draw a crowd and all that other stuff. So I never sneeze at 28, having been through what I was through in the earlier decades. So, yeah, it's gone fast, but it's been entertaining. It's been strange. It's been different in many ways. This team is very hard to figure out, or very hard to get a pulse on and know what you're going to get game to game. Maybe that adds to the excitement. I'd rather it be, a lot less excitement from that standpoint and just the regular excitement, but it's been good. It's been good overall.
Ted, you've had a long, illustrious career, and I feel like a couple years ago in the Final Four, the call with Lamont Butler, where does that rank for you as far as moments of your broadcasting career goes?
That's a great question. And it has to be, based on some clinching games with the Padres in 96 and 98 and 05 and 06. When I was doing that, that's up there without question. And but this, in terms of a university that had never been to a Final Four and having been part of it for 3 decades, that has to be, number one. It was just amazing. A terrific Florida Atlantic team and all that, and a great kid like Lamont that, after all is said and done, and also some really nice football moments through the years with Brady, and then Rocky, and then Brady again. That goes into my mix also, as well as the Padres. But the Lamont thing was just so amazing and so wonderful that has to be number one, because it's the number one single play and moment, literally, in Aztec history in any sport.
It still is amazing to think about that moment in Houston, how that all played out for San Diego State. Uncle Teddy, Ted Lightner, with us. He's getting ready for his final regular season call tomorrow night at 7:30. You can hear it right here on San Diego Sports 760. Pregame coverage begins at 6:30. You can listen on the app as well. Ted, I'm nervous for tomorrow. Like you said, 20-8.
You're always nervous.
I'm always nervous for every game. They could be playing the University of Phoenix online. I'd be nervous. But there's so much on the line, right? Because they're kind of firmly on the bubble, and they've been so well positioned over the last handful of years that not everything is riding on every game this time of year. What are your nerves like, knowing the importance of these final few games of the regular and postseason?
wish it had not come down to this, and I didn't think it would based on how they started. But this is a bizarre team, like I said, in terms of, I thought, going back to November and the Players Era Festival at the MGM, and looking at Creighton, as it turned out, Creighton and Oregon and a sixth-ranked Houston club. I honestly thought they had a chance to win no games. That could happen. They could win one. I didn't think, honestly, they would win two. All the business about Young and Goon was just starting Division I basketball after redshirting, had not played a second of it, and didn't know what to expect. So I thought, I know, having seen this from Fisher Dutcher year one in 1999 and broadcasting that and seeing what has happened every single year, there wasn't a year that I didn't see improvement and think, wow, they always make them better toward the beginning of the conference and more of that in the middle of the conference play. So I thought, wow, I don't think they'll be ready in November. And they were unbelievable in that tournament. Unbelievable. Crushed nationally ranked Creighton, beating Houston in overtime. And Houston is still up there. They were six then. They're still up there in that area now. So I thought, wow, they're so good now. What are they going to be like? Because Dutch always and his staff has them much better later on. And that didn't happen. That did not happen. So it was shocking to me. And I realized that. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm sure people are tired of hearing about it. That kind of, the 9-man rotation and 6 of them are freshmen and sophomore, that has not happened in eons, a long, long, long time. So maybe we got, as in, wow, look at them in November, but that didn't continue and they had problems. And we've all been enumerating those problems through the course of those games. So I wish it hadn't come down to that. They had a beautiful resume early on with those wins over Creighton and Houston, and sweeping Boise is huge, huge. I've never seen them do that in my lifetime. And all those games with Boise for the years have been incredibly tight. So that are some great achievements, but it's a shame with that they come down to a final game. And you know what, guys? This metric thing, I've never been big on the analytics in baseball and all that other stuff. And the idea that all that has crept in to football and then now basketball, and it's business of 20-8. Wow. You should not be on the bubble at 20-8 when you're like Brian Dutcher and you play anyone. You duck no one. You want to challenge yourself early and get these signature games and get your resume done before the conference. But no, that one. And this one, you were supposed to win by 6, and you only won by 1.
Mm-hmm.
You should have won by 20, and that kind of thing. Other teams do, like Boise and some others who schedule less tough games, beat them by a ton, and they get treated well with the metrics as opposed to the Aztecs. That is a horrible part of college basketball now. And I'm not complaining about the team and all this other stuff, but it has been such that because of the metrics, they're in a do or die situation tomorrow, and they are.
Well, hopefully they can send you off with a win here at Viejas Arena. But Ted, going back to just your overall career, did you always want to become a broadcaster? Like when you were growing up, and did you always want to become this with now your legacy? I consider to be, you're the voice of San Diego sports for the last, however long.
I appreciate that. I do. I really do. And I hear that and think, me? I never thought any of this would happen to me in my life, all the way back to when it began, literally in 1965, and getting some commercial jobs while I was in college, majoring in radio, television, film, and then communications in grad school. And it did come to me. To answer your question, it's inexplicable. And I think I'd say this all the time, but at high school classes that I've spoken to, college groups, whatever, anytime it's young people, listen to me. If I could do this, you can do whatever you want to do. And I know you hear that all the time, inspirational talks, but it is. I could not put 5 sentences together. I was incredibly shy. I would go during the courses of standing up in front of class, having to give an oral report. Everybody had to do it. I would time it either by going up the rows or by alphabetical, however they were go, and I would cut school to make sure I didn't have to be there to get up in front of 10 or 15 kids. And that doesn't make me the Lone Ranger. Most people fear, public speaking. It's the old Seinfeld routine about research shows that people fear public speaking more than death. So Seinfeld says, so you'd rather actually be in the coffin than giving the eulogy. Is that what you're telling me? And the answer is yes. Yes. It's insane, but it's true. So I had no known talent whatsoever for this to happen. And I would think about that, standing at home plate at Petco Park, ready to MC in front of 43,000 people and enjoying it and looking forward to it and loving it. And the things that have happened in my career, that I could overcome that kind of shyness, lack of self-esteem, lack of confidence, and do this. Like I say, and kids out there in whatever age, you can do what you want to do if you love it. And oh my God, have I ever loved it. It's the old Asian saying that if you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That's me.
Man, that is really well said. Ted Lightner, Uncle Teddy, with us right now on Jon and Jim. We were wondering, Ted, earlier off air when we found out you were joining us, like what year was the busiest year of Ted's career? Because you have called so much play-by-play, whether it's Chargers, Clippers, Padres, Aztecs, but you also did radio. You also had the TV sportscast. Is there a specific year where it was close to like 365 days for you?
It was 1998. And that was a time when I was doing the Padre games and the Aztec football and basketball and the Chargers.
Wow.
And so doing that, which you could not do now, because back then they used to call red eye flights. And you could literally get out of here and get to Vegas, leave here at whatever, 8, 9, 10, even after 10, and get to Vegas. And there were flights going from Vegas to almost everywhere. So you could literally fly all night, which I did. And I would do I'd do a Padre game here on a Friday night, and I would then do an Aztec game on a Saturday night, and then I would go to the airport from the old stadium and in Mission Valley and go to the airport, fly to Vegas, and then take that to Kansas City, to Washington, D.C., to New York, wherever the Chargers were, and got through that. Like I said, with airline schedules now, you could not do what I was doing, and I loved it. And I loved it. And I was so lucky, because you're thinking about, hey, it's going to be foggy. We've had that with Aztec basketball this year. I mean, bad fog, weekend after weekend. That would have absolutely killed me, because I would not have been able to get from point A to point B to point C. And I was as typical in my life and typical in my professional life. I was so lucky. I always was able to get there. And I had friends like Dean Spanos and John Moores when I would go to an event and get from one to the other, and then they would fly me on their personal jets, coming back or going out there. And I had the same thing with Mrs. Kroc when she owned the ball club, and she would tell me, if you get in the jam, call me, and I'll have Whitey, who her pilot, come and pick you up in my plane. And there again, people were helping me, giving me breaks, and it was simply spectacular. And '98 was a really, really good year. And the Aztecs went to the Las Vegas Bowl, and the Padres went to the World Series, and it was the most satisfying and gratifying year of my life. And the only thing that comes close to that would have to be the Aztecs going to the Final Four in 2022.
Ted, I know this might be a difficult one to answer, but in your time broadcasting, who is Ted Lightner's favorite either coach or player that you have covered or called a game for? You can say multiple if you want, but who's like one of the first people that come to your mind when you think about your careers, favorites to cover or call a game for?
That's a great question. And it has, for me, been Anthony Keith Quinn. Mm-hmm. And because it wasn't, the baseball thing came later, but I met Tony in 1978 when I came here my very first year. And once again, here's the luck. The job was open, and Eddie Doucette, the great play-by-play guy with the Milwaukee Bucks, was supposed to come and get that Aztec job. Not me. I was coming to do Channel 8 sports, nothing else. Nothing at all with the radio, just the TV. And Eddie couldn't get here because of illness with his son, and he couldn't get here in time. So I got the Aztecs, and that's where I started. And went from there. I know I'm laughing. I'm laughing, guys, because I'm 77. And you asked me that question, and I talked about 1978 and Eddie Doucette, and now I have no idea what the hell the question was.
It was about who your favorite athlete or coach is. Yeah.
Okay. And I got to tell you, boys, and senior citizens out there know what I'm talking about. The brain shrinks when you're older. And I used to be able to go through a broadcast and think about, that what happened in that Reds game, back in when they had so-and-so and Griffey in 1976 and Griffey Sr. And I was able to do the play-by-play and think about other things. Now, if I don't think about it and write it down the minute it comes in my mind during the Aztec broadcast, it's gone. It's gone in 3 to 5 seconds. And it's fascinating, just fascinating. So I met Tony with Aztec basketball, young, incredible athlete, still, as you know, John, holds the all-time assist record to this day in Aztec history. A wonderful, wonderful player who knew and told me many times he could play in the NBA after the Clippers had drafted him, but he went to baseball, and the rest, as they say, is history. So my association with Tony, starting in the late 70s, is something I cherish, and knowing his family and his brothers, and Alicia, and now the kids, has just been a gift to me. Junior Seau is right up there. Junior was a force of nature. He was not just physically, but his confidence and his ability and his personality, and a kid who comes back to his community and plays here after going to USC was just a great, great story with a bad, bad ending. I miss Tiaina so much all the time that it's one of those things like with Tony that I cannot believe that he's gone. I just can't. Someone asked me today about, I had a lunch with a bunch of former sports writers and broadcasters, and that came up about your favorite guy. And I saw him at the Aztec game, I think 2 games ago, whatever, at home, and that's Ralph Bernershka, who was the great kicker for the Chargers, who was as nice a man, as involved in the community as you could ever see. And to show you what kind of person he was, he and his wife went to Russia to adopt a couple of children. And the Russians jerked them around, as I remember the story, that they couldn't leave unless they took this other physically challenged or mentally challenged child also. And of course they said, yes, we'll take him and we'll raise him. And they did. That's the Ralph Bernershka that I knew and was privileged to know. And Dr. Bernershka, his father, among the many, many here. And there are so many of them. There's just an incredible number that I've gotten to know. X Thames was just a great human being and a great player who actually outplayed the scouting report when he came from Washington State. So I hold him near and dear to my heart. And you know what? More easily to remember because it's so recently, Jaden Ledee. I mean, if you had a son like Jaden Ledee, you'd be one proud father. I'd be so proud if Jaden was my boy, as I am proud of my boys. And he was just a perfect student athlete, a 4.0 student, a guy that trained and trained and trained and trained. And they built a gym in his house down in Houston and so forth. And there's so many of them. And I'm just naming a few to answer your question. But it's just amazing to me through the years, the mental toughness of the Padre baseball, of all baseball players that go in a sport of failure where the greats make out 7 out of 10 times and they go out there and get lit up on the mound and I'm coming back. What are you talking about? Getting lit up. I'll be back here in 4 days. I'll make another start. You learn so much from their toughness mentally and physically. And I've had that as a gift through all of this working here in San Diego and these Aztec kids year in and year out. John, you know this, you'll see this as you continue with them for many, many, many years, that these kids are old school. They're special. You don't recruit kids like this unless you're doing it on purpose and doing your due diligence and getting guys that are team players, no me, no I. And that has been such a pleasure in addition to winning for the last 15, 20 years with me, with Coach Fisher and Coach Dutcher, that I have had a career that never entered my mind, an enjoyment that'll be in my mind forever.
Well, that is well said. And Ted, we cannot wait to hear you again tomorrow night as the regular season wraps up at Viejas Arena. I know it's been a privilege for our listeners to hear you throughout the course of this year and many other years, whether it's Padres, Aztecs, whatever it has been. It's been a privilege for me to be working next to you it's actually been 8 seasons with men's basketball and football, which is hard to believe. And I'm looking forward to everything that tomorrow has to bring. But we'll see you out there. We have senior night ceremonies, which you're going to be a part of on the radio. And one more time at Viejas Arena in the regular season. We'll see if the Aztecs can win one for you tomorrow night, Teddy.
I'll be hearing music in the background, and it'll be a combination of songs. It'll be Frank Sinatra singing "My Way." It'll be Paul Anka singing "The Times of Their Life." Remember that Kodak commercial that Paul Anka wrote? And the memories are amazing. And John, thank you, because I've had great partners in every sport throughout my life. And I got to work with Jesse Agler, and then he took over the Padre baseball. I got to work with you, and now you're taking over. And it's the kind of thing where people say, "You're sorry you're going." Well, yeah, I'd like to go on forever, but I can't. My eyesight has prevented that. That's what it comes down to. And the idea that you have paid your dues and done your work and done college basketball back east and are ready to take over, it thrills me from a professional standpoint that it's you, and a personal standpoint that it's you. And I wish you the best of luck for as long as you want to be here.
Very kind, Ted. Seriously, that means a ton. So thank you for doing it, and we will see you tomorrow night, all right, at Viejas Arena.
Ted. Jon Jim, thank you so much, guys. Great talking to you.
Appreciate you. Ted Lightner, Uncle Teddy. And yeah, I think the primary takeaway there is that he knew you were on the radio with me, that he just said your name.
That just made the whole interview.
Let's discuss on the other side. This is Jon and Jim. All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Again, the award show for fans is back. Let's celebrate. It's the iHeartRadio Music Awards coming back to Fox March 17th. And on Monday at 6 a.m., find out which of your favorite artists will be performing. Don't miss it. Monday, 6 a.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. How cool is that? The day before Ted calls potentially his final game at Viejas Arena, certainly the final regular season game at Viejas Arena. He was able to join us here on Jon and Jim, trip down memory lane. He's been here since 78.
Yep.
I don't know if you could do the math on that. That's 47 years.
Long time. I'm only 36.
So he's been here longer than we both have been alive because I was born in 80.
But I'm glad that we got the answer to when his busiest time of his career was, which is 1998.
And if you think about 98, because he had all of October
right
with the Padres, plus he said he was doing Aztecs football and basketball and Chargers. So there would have been weekends in there in October of 98 where, oh my gosh, I mean, from can you imagine the crisscross across the country? He was doing, like he said, that's amazing that in his entire career, doing like Chargers, Aztecs, or Aztecs, Padres, he didn't miss games because of travel. Like that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Like you get stuck in this airport for a day, you're missing a Chargers game, right?
Right.
If you're in San Diego and you got to be in Atlanta for a Falcons Chargers game, that's pretty it's just incredible. I mean, I cannot imagine doing some of the years that he's had. Like it's incredible. It's a lot.
Yeah, you got to be built different, as they say, to be able to do all of that. That's just, Ted, like, broadcaster is just something that it fits him, right? Like he is a broadcaster to the core. And that's just what he is. Lights go on. That's when Ted shines the brightest.
Yeah. Again, for me, sitting next to Ted, like I was with him for the tournament runs.
Yeah.
Specifically 2 years ago. You've seen a video. There's a video where I was sitting next to Ted when Lamont hit the shot and I like keeled over.
You jumped out of your seat and like
I
fell
literally
down.
jumped out of my seat because it was that like crazy of a moment. But it was cool. Like when I think back on that, it was cool because Ted's 40 something years into his career in San Diego and had that moment then.
Right.
Like he hadn't had that moment until then. Yes, he had called World Series, which is incredible. But with San Diego State, he put like 30 years in and he had seen it. That's what I'm always amazed at. When you broadcast for a team that's always good, that's not bad.
No.
It's good. If your team's always good, that's good. But when your team hasn't always been good, it's sweeter when they are good.
Yeah.
Because there's like the San Diego State basketball story and football. Because football wasn't always, 2010s with football was great, but before that wasn't the same. Basketball before Steve Fisher, Brian Dutcher, right? I mean, it wasn't the same. So to have that perspective and then reach the pinnacle at like 40 something years into your broadcasting career, that's pretty cool. You're probably thinking at some point it's not going to happen. Like he was 75 calling a Final Four game. You're probably thinking at some point, I'm not going to have a chance to call a Final Four game.
No. Like and then he ended up calling a national championship game.
That's right.
As well.
That's right.
I think the cool thing is every person, every sports, fan in this town that has been here for longer than, 10 years or whatever, right? Like everyone has a Ted story from listening to him on the radio.
Right.
Everybody, whether it be Charger games, Padres games, Clippers, right back in the day, him on television, his radio show, Aztecs football, Aztec basketball, like everybody has a Ted story. I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's really cool. And there's just a way, like he made a really interesting point there about public speaking, because I don't know if you feel the same way. Do you like speaking? Or do you like,
I can do it,
but it's kind of nerve wracking.
But I'm with you. Like,
yeah, to me, it's always been a little, it always works out perfectly. It's always fine.
Yeah.
People always like, but Ted is he's unbelievable in his interviews like that.
Oh,
he's been terrific
ultimate MC.
And he's been terrific, obviously, doing play-by-play all these years. But he's always been great at public speaking.
Yeah.
Like whether, like he said, like Petco, Aztec events. And yeah, that it's like easier said than done. It's a different skill. Like what we do right now, talking on the radio, to me is a way different skill than speaking in front of 2,000 people tomorrow at some event.
If we took this, I guess, setup we had and put 40,000 people in front of us, yeah, I would definitely be acting probably a little differently.
Right. Than how we act right now.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's a tough skill, man. Ted had it.
He'll be on the call again tomorrow night at 7:30. Senior night festivities will get underway around 7:20 tomorrow night. So be in your seats at Viejas Arena or be listening because Ted will be on the mic around 7:20 or so. they'll honor this senior class for San Diego State. Such a critical game tomorrow night, Aztecs and Nevada. Again, 7:30 on San Diego Sports 760 with pregame coverage beginning at 6:30. All right, there's a lot to react to on the other side, and we will. We started the day talking about a potential Padres trade involving a starting pitcher. So we'll get back to that on the other side. Jim's back page is still ahead. It's Jon and Jim.
This update's brought to you by the San Diego Seals. We'll start with NFL news of the day. The Seahawks traded QB Geno Smith to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 3rd-round pick. Aztecs take on Nevada tomorrow night. It's senior night, 7:30 tip, 6:30 pregame. Listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. And San Diego FC takes on Salt Lake tomorrow night, 6:30 start time. You can listen to that game on our sister station, Jim in 95.7. Friday Night Lights, box lacrosse style. Tonight, 7:30 p.m., the Seals take on the Vancouver Warriors for Stick Up for a Cure night. Don't miss the action. Plus, the first 2,000 fans grab a Seals beach towel. Tickets at sealslax.com.
All right, Aztecs Nevada tomorrow night, senior night, pregame coverage at 6:30. 10 as the tip. After 7:30, you're home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. If you missed Ted Lightner with us about 15 minutes ago, you can find it on the iHeartRadio app or at sportssd.com. Again, a reminder, If you have the iHeartRadio app, put Jon and Jim in your presets. You can listen back to all of our on-demand hours of the show and interviews from the show, including our conversation with Uncle Teddy. Now, we started the show talking about the San Diego Padres.
Those guys?
Those guys who haven't won since February in the Cactus League. It sounds weird when you say it that way. And we were kind of beating around this idea that, well, they could absolutely use starting pitching now, but they could certainly use it in 2026 and beyond. And the Marlins have Sandy Alcantara. And there was a tweet from John Morosi, MLB Network, along the lines of, I would expect the Marlins to entertain trading Alcantara at some point in 2025. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll be before the season. Might be at the trade deadline. He's owed $17 million this year and next year. There's a club option for 2027 for $21 million. And seemingly it would be a fit. Padres will need starting pitching potentially. Cease and King might be gone after this year. They could use him right now. Now he's coming off Tommy John. Won a Cy Young a few years ago. But AJ Preller, you said it earlier, he likes controllable pitchers. And that's what Alcantara represents potentially for San Diego. I could see it at least being entertained at some point in 2025.
2025, this year, yeah. Trade deadline, okay. Right now, probably not. And I think one of the biggest reasons why I don't see the Marlins trading Sandy Alcantara is because he makes like 35% of their payroll.
Right. And you were saying earlier, like they almost need payroll because of the collective bargaining, because they're receiving money, right?
Right. So according to Major League Baseball's collective bargaining agreement with the players associations, teams that receive revenue sharing, like the Marlins, are required to have a luxury tax payroll that is at least equal to 1.5 times the amount that they receive from the revenue sharing process. Right now, according to The Athletic, the Marlins are expected to receive roughly $70 million in revenue sharing this season, which would put their minimum payroll requirement at $105 million. And right now, they have a projected payroll at $82.8 million for luxury tax purposes. They're going to need to add payroll.
Well, they better
subtract.
They better get going. Clock ticking. The season starts in 20 days, and they have to add $25 million. How? With what player?
I have a solution.
Give them Xander Bogaerts. Now, what's the solution?
Give them Xander and Jake. There you go.
Right, but
that's not going to happen.
It's not overly realistic. No. Can you attach money to a prospect for Miami? Yes, you can.
Yes.
But and are they going to trade their star Cy Young Award winner before the season starts? He's coming off Tommy John.
You could also, if you're the Marlins, if you say this, right? Because they did this last year with Luis Ariz. It wasn't a big contract, but they paid his entire contract. The Padres weren't paying Luis Ariz anything last year. So what if the Marlins traded Sandy Alcantara, but yet then paid his entire contract to have that on the books? That would also be ridiculous from a Marlins standpoint. But
depending on what you get back, that's an interesting point. But also then, so they're going to do that. Then they're also going to take on salary. They're going to pay Alcantara's salary, and they're going to take on the Padres salary.
Or take on any salary.
Right, or any salary. I guess so.
So you trade Alcantara, you get prospects back, but then you tell the team that you're trading him to, we'll pay the entire salary because we need to, be in compliance with this.
Are they even,
rule.
What if they're not in compliance, I wonder?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I wonder what would happen.
I would love Alcantara here in a Padres uniform. He's under team control for the next 2 seasons, potentially 3. Cost effective, not going to cost a lot. He's a workhorse. Yeah, he came off. He's had Tommy John surgery, but everybody has Tommy John surgery nowadays. If you're a pitcher,
he's young. He's 29.
Young. You have this year to kind of get back into the groove of things, and I would suspect next year would be the year he looks more like himself. Hopefully, if there are a team that trades for him, the Padres need pitching. They're not re-signing King. They're not re-signing Dylan Cease most likely, and right now you got a pitcher coming off of Tommy John surgery of his own, and Joe Musgrove returning next year, Nick Pivetta, and a almost 40-year-old Yu Darvish. You pick up Sandy Alcantara, pretty good. But
the one thing I would say about
happen,
nor do I. But the one thing I would say about Preller is he has an interesting way of extending a window out. I feel like I really don't think this is just going to expire in front of our eyes and say, man, Manny got old. There goes the Padres window. I just feel like he's too creative for that to just occur, and they're just going to be like, "Oh, woe is me. We have a lot of money tied up in Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado. We're not going to be competitive." I don't see it like that. I can't forecast the future, and I do believe they need to win now in 25 and 26. I just think they can like reinvent themselves because it's amazing. Like we never envisioned Dylan Cease last year, and they're going to get 2 years of team control out of Dylan Cease. We never envisioned Luis Ariz. They're going to get 2 years out of Ariz. It's just amazing how he has the ability to get, and he's not getting players that are 36 that were good at 29. Like Dylan Cease is in his prime. Luis Ariz is in his prime. He added Blake Snell in his prime. He added Joe Musgrove in his prime. He got Yu Darvish, 6 years ago? He was a very good pitcher. He still is. He's older now, but that was 6 years ago.
You got Darvish 6 years ago?
Whenever, 5 years ago? 2021.
Yeah, I thought he got him for the 2022 season.
4 years ago.
Right? Or no?
I think it was 2021 season.
Oh, you're right. 2021. So
he's coming off second in Cy Young. He was coming off finishing second in Cy Young when they traded for him.
Frank in our YouTube chat, new member of the channel, said, how is Alcantara cost effective if he's making $17 million this year?
That's a deal for a starting pitcher.
Oh, deal.
Now, Cease and King are a better deal.
Because look at it this way. Alcantara is making 17 this year. I think
17 next year, 17 this year, 21 and 2027.
So that's 55-ish million for the next 3 years, including this year. This year and 2 more years for that.
Yeah.
You're not getting a pitcher of his caliber if he turns back into that pitcher for 55 million for 3 years.
They just signed a number 4 for 55. This guy is an ace. He won a Cy Young, so he's not a potential ace. Now he's gonna have to return to that form, but he has been an ace. The 3 years, $55 million for an ace who's won a Cy Young is a complete bargain. Yeah. And why? By the way, the price tag should be an arm and a leg.
Yeah,
it's really what it should be, even though he's coming off Tommy John. So listen, never say never. I've seen crazier things play out. I've seen how Preller has operated over the last handful of years. So I don't think it's impossible, but I also don't think it's necessarily happening tomorrow either. Although that'd be cool.
I would love it. I don't think Peter Bendix was a good GM. He would ask for like Salas Navreez or one of those two guys, and that's probably not happening.
Right.
Even though me and you would probably do that deal.
I live for the now.
Right? But I don't think AJ Preller would do that deal.
Probably not. All right, here until 6 p.m. Jim's back page on the other side. Stay with us, Jon and Jim. a final time for the week. I'm Jon Jim, San Diego Sports 760 again tomorrow. Aztecs at 7:30, pregame at 6:30. San Diego FC at 6:30, pregame at 6 on Jammin' 95.7. So we've got you covered, whether it's on the radio or the iHeartRadio app. Find the Aztecs with Uncle Teddy on his final regular season call. Or again, you can find Adrian Garcia Marquez, Darren Smith over on Jammin' 95.7, beginning at 6 p.m. with the start of that match at 6:30.
I am excited for tomorrow night.
I know. That's right. I forgot it briefly that you're going to be there.
I'm excited to bring Erin because she's never been before.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this is the one thing that she hasn't been to.
It's like the one thing in San Diego she hasn't done. She's been in San Diego a while, right? How long?
Since 19.
Okay, so not crazy long, but 6-7 years.
2018, 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she's done everything but this.
Yeah, she's been to Aztec football games. She's been to a bunch of Padres games, Goals game. Well, we've been to a Wave game together. Obviously STFC, nothing yet. No Seals, but yeah, she has not been to an Aztec basketball game at Viejas.
Well, she's gonna get a really good experience from an environment perspective.
Yeah,
this isn't just your run of the mill
Occidental.
Yeah, it's just a random game.
It's a Saturday night.
Even the random games are good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Saturday night, senior night, everything that's on the line, white out, that's the real deal.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. I'm excited for her to be in that atmosphere. And I'm excited just to be at senior night and finally get you off my back of never going to a basketball game.
Right, but it's like a fine line because I do say you never go to a game, but I then do say don't ruin anything.
I've been to a lot of basketball games at Viejas, though. So it's not like I've never been.
I know. You're right.
It's just I remember you telling me a couple years ago, you can't go because you're bad luck. And so I just didn't go. This is your fault.
No, it's not my fault. They went to the national championship. I wouldn't trade that for a thing.
Riding the wave, man.
Ride the wave. All right, let's get to it.
Ride the wave. All right, I got a really good back page for you, John.
Okay.
We'll start in Miami.
All
right. Miami baseball was playing Villanova. This happened a couple days ago.
Yeah.
But this has now gone viral.
Right.
So fans in the stands could get a special Mark Light shake, specially made for the game. I don't know why they did this, but
you don't know why they did this. Do not tell them, Brent. You don't know why they did this.
Oh, Villanova. Yes, they played Villanova.
Right.
Sorry. I meant just I didn't know why they would do this. Why are they doing this specifically, which was a Philly cheesesteak milkshake. It was a Philly cheesesteak in a cup with vanilla ice cream, vanilla syrup, and it's topped with a mini cheesesteak sandwich.
We saw the video. It was actually a little piece of a cheesesteak put in essentially a milkshake, and that is truly disgusting.
That is ridiculous.
And I think it solely has to do with they're playing a Philly school.
Right.
Miami's playing Villanova.
Yeah,
but it still doesn't make any sense because who on earth would ever eat that?
Yeah, I mean, I get why they did it. They were trying. It was Philly related,
right?
I just don't get why they would do it
because it's disgusting.
It's awful,
right?
This is grosser. Remember that Yankees dude that was using a hot dog as a straw that one game?
Oh yeah, I do remember
that was a plant.
We thought that was fixed,
but this is. I'd rather have a hot dog straw than eat this.
Yeah, this thing was disgusting.
Milkshake. Yeah, it looked grosser than it even sounds.
Yep.
Paul Skeens. Might know of him.
Sure.
His 2024 autographed rookie card has gone to auction.
Just an autographed rookie card?
It is a special RDPA rookie card.
Which is?
It is a debut patch. So it's his debut rookie patch.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
And
so it's pretty rare, special card.
Yeah, so it's the actual debut patch turned into his rookie card, and it's signed.
Oh no, that's worth a lot.
All right. Guess where the bidding's at right now for this thing? It's a 1 of 1.
It's a 1 of 1. I mean, it shouldn't be. Because the way you said that, I mean, 19 grand.
19?
Is that high?
Try 504,000.
It can't be worth that. It's Paul Skeens, who's good. Goes for the Pirates.
Early bidding topping $500,000.
It's insane, right?
The card reached $150,000 on the first 45 bids, and then eclipsed $220,000 roughly 40 minutes later.
Insane.
As of today, the bidding had climbed to $504,000, including buyer's premium, with 53 total bids having been placed.
Crazy.
The previous record for any Skeens card was $123,000, paid for the 2023 Bowman Draft Chrome Prospects autographed Super Factor 1/1 PSA 7.
Wow.
What?
500 grand.
The previous record for any RDPA card was $75,000, paid for the Mason Wynn copy on Fanatics Collections Buy Now Marketplace.
This is going to seem like nothing, right? When that kid sells his Paul Skeens card that was a 1-to-1. Remember, he was waiting that they tried to offer him like a date with Livy Dunn to.
But this is like a part of his jersey on the card. I don't think that had part of his jersey.
I mean,
that was
Paul
just,
Skeens had a nice year, but come on.
Give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, a nice year.
He shouldn't even been a rookie of the year, to be honest.
Easily, right. It was very arguable that he was. Exactly.
Yeah, and he didn't like unanimously get rookie of the year either. It was pretty close.
Right.
Anyway, and finally, if you watched the NBA on TNT last night, they actually had this in their studio and talking about it, which is a Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan debut jerseys. So it's the first jersey that Michael Jordan ever wore in the NBA, which is signed by Michael Jordan. And then the first ever jersey that Kobe Bryant wore in the NBA together, which is not on auction yet, but will be. It is expected that those two jerseys, it was so funny last night, Charles Barkley and Shaq were trying to bid. They're trying to I'll give you $50,000 for that. And the guy's like, yeah, we expect these to be sold for no less than 20 million.
20 million?
20 million.
Well, obviously the Kobe one is, I mean, again, if it's signed, it's the first, you're not going to get any, he's never signing anything ever again.
Right.
20 million?
20 million.
Honestly, I'd probably rather spend 20 million on that than 500K on that Skeens card.
It's something that it's pretty incredible. So the jerseys, it's like the first ever appearance by Michael Jordan. It's a preseason in a preseason game.
Okay.
But it's still the first jersey he ever wore. And then the first official appearance for Kobe, his regular season debut.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Each jersey could beat the all-time record of $10.1 million.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so you could get these things no less than 20 million, which is wild.
Yeah, it's insane. I was just looking at this.
Finally, real quick, remember those phones that Woj was selling to try to help his NIL cause?
Yeah, what did it get, 5K?
Got $12,000 for his cell phones that he used.
Jeez.
$12K.
Kobe's debut versus Minnesota, November 3rd, 6 minutes. 0 for 1.
So that jersey,
no points.
That jersey is now up for auction, or will be up for auction, along with Jordan's first jersey that he wore in his first ever preseason game, signed by Michael Jordan.
It was a Lakers 91-85 win, November 3rd, 1996. All right, join us tomorrow. San Diego Sports 760 pregame coverage at 6:30. San Diego State, Nevada. Ted Lightner on the call at 7:30. If you're looking for SDFC, you can find it on Jam at 95.7 at 6:30. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Have a great weekend. This is San Diego Sports 760.
Okay, bye.